Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another potluck Q&A. Okay, first I'm going to start by talking about my accident. There are no accidents. Let me start with what I think caused the accident, of course, called it to myself. Last summer, I was working on the third book, the detox book, and I'm saying to myself, I've had no serious accidents since I've been on this diet. I've only handled people with accidents. I really don't know what to do. So I've had 2 serious accidents because I didn't know how I'd handle the doctors. I didn't know what happened if I went unconscious. All these things, and I got everything I had thought, everything I had a question for. So what happened was, I was in Ubon Ratchathani in Thailand, which is a very small farm town. They have no chemical agriculture anywhere within 90 miles that I saw. And they're right on the Thailand, Cambodia, and Laos borders right there. They're all just connected right there. And these 2 men that just came out of nowhere that are high in politics and everything in this town are trying to get me to build my health center there. And they're offering me 300 rai, which is 120 acres. And it's on a river, lake, and it's got everything, So they took me out after they showed me the property, and went to a karaoke bar. Everybody drank with me, and they got snockered. But we were close to the hotel, so I wasn't worried. And they weren't, the guy was just driving slowly. I mean, we're going like 25 miles an hour. It's like a 35-mile-an-hour zone. And everybody's talking, having fun. There's a driver and empty passenger seat, and then there's a monk, and the monk was drunk too, and another passenger, and then my real estate broker, which I called my girlfriend. She's a friend who's a girl, and she was sitting to the left of me. We're in an RV, and I'm in the third seat with her. I've got the harness, the seatbelt harness across this way. And all of a sudden everybody's talking, and I'm looking at the scenery. It's like 1:15 in the morning. And I was looking around, and I see this car coming with no lights, about 50 miles an hour. Hit us. And as soon as he came to the impact, I lost consciousness because the harness didn't keep me in because it was on this shoulder. We got hit on this side, so I flew this way, and my head hit the window, past her because she was leaning forward. Otherwise, I would have smashed her, and I wouldn't have been hurt as badly, but she would have been killed. But I went over here, and my head went through the window, and caused a concussion. I've got an indent in my skull there, so it broke the skull. And in fact, a piece of glass came out yesterday. I didn't even know it was in there. I woke up this morning and went, what's this? A piece of glass. Smashed right out. But it had been completely buried because I didn't feel it before. And my shoulder hit the molding, the side molding, and broke the clavicle and the shoulder blade, the shoulder of the, what do you call that? The collarbone. And the clavicle, when it broke, went through my neck muscles, and then bounced back. And then I was out. I felt all that without pain. And then when I woke up, the RV's upside down, and that was an RV of his. We flipped over a couple of times, and when I woke about 40 minutes later, they're prying the doors open, and I'm barely coming to. I'm hearing all this going on, and they're smashing the other window to pull me out. So I'm in the back, and the girlfriend was on top of me, and her feet, I guess, broke my ribs. I got 2 broken ribs here when we flipped over a few times. So she's in pretty bad shape. She got serious brain damage. So she lost her vision.
She can get it back, can't she?
I don't know. She's not on a diet. She's not on a climb. So
Does she still have her personality? Is she still who she is? Like when brain?
Yeah, she's still there.
Is she?
Yeah. She's not as bubbly and happy. That's for sure. But, she did something that I thought was rather ridiculous. After the accident, we went to the hospital. And, they were starting to break everything in the car to get me out because I'm way in the back. And they were able to pull her out to a door that they opened about this much. So starting to break all these other, windows, and I'm getting glass across the eyes and face. So I screamed at them to stop. And then I worked my way, even with this shoulder in excruciating pain, out to the door. And then I tried to stand up. I mean, all this time, my vision is not, I'm seeing, I'm not seeing, I'm seeing other things that aren't there. And, my vision was just crazy for a while. And when I got out of when I went to stand up in the vehicle, it was an immediate collapse. So they grabbed me, put me on a stretcher, strapped me in, and took me to the hospital. So in the hospital, I said, I've got to come too. I've got to really stay in tune, keep them from doing anything to me. So they put me in a wheelchair. After I got off the gurney to have X-rays done, I told the guy, I said, you have 2 shots. I told him in Thai, you have 2 shots to take. That's all you get. 2 shots of this X-ray. That's it. So he took 2 shots, and it showed the broken bones, but nothing was dislocated. So I didn't have to do anything. They want to put a cast on. I said, don't need a cast. Because the body, when you don't have a cast, the body will build its own cast. It builds, like you can see, a tumor here. It's as hard as a rock, and it's sealed right where the break was. And as it gets well, that bone growth goes back into the center of the bone and seals it harder. So that's how the body does it naturally if you don't use a cast. You have to be more careful so you don't dislocate it. So I had to sleep on my right side for a few days, and I took very thin slices of steak and wrapped it here on my neck and around here. So I slept for 2 days with steaks here like a boxer does. And let me tell you, I was in excruciating pain, and I'd put a steak on, within 10 minutes the pain would go. I'd take the steak off, or I'd fall asleep and it would fall off. I'd wake up in excruciating pain, put the steak back on, 20 minutes later, 10, 20 minutes later, pain's gone.
Wow. How does that work? What is the steak?
Just does.
How did you discover that? Was it
Well,
intuitive?
no, it's from the boxers. The boxers used to put steak on their injuries.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Your skull is better now?
Yeah,
It
definitely.
came back?
I mean, I had a huge bruise here, and the ear was broken. All the cartilage was crushed, and it's still just a little sore right here. And then I've got a huge indent right here that's probably 2.5 inches by about 3/4 of an inch.
That's going to go back?
I don't know.
What did you say your girlfriend did that was stupid?
The next morning, we probably got to the hotel about 2:30, and we were sharing the same room. She had one bed, and I had another bed. And I heard her at 6 o'clock in the morning. She's going to get on the plane because she lives in Chiang Mai, which is 700 miles from where we were. She had flown to Bangkok and then to where we were. And I had flown from Cambodia to Bangkok to where we were to look at that property. And she did not want to be stuck in a foreign town for her. So she got on a plane. You do not get on a plane when you have a concussion because the brain expands. It causes pressure. So that probably caused more brain damage. She flew to Bangkok and Bangkok to Chiang Mai.
She couldn't stay back for a while.
She should have.
Did you tell her that?
She left. Pardon?
Did you tell her that?
Of course I told her. So did the doctor. She did it anyway.
That's not smart.
And then she wanted to see me before I left, so she flies back from Chiang Mai to see me, and then has to fly back to Chiang Mai again. So, she just kept getting worse every time she got on a plane. Not a smart thing to do. Some people don't listen.
Going on the diet would change it back to feeling better.
Probably.
Impaired.
So was it difficult when you tell the doctors only taking this X-ray, I don't want him to treat.
Oh, they did.
They react pretty weird.
Yeah,
but they
they're
don't,
pretty crazy, and
they don't say, oh, this guy must have hit his head, he's not thinking right, and try and attack him.
Well, I wouldn't let him touch my head. I didn't want them to know that I had a concussion. So I had to be clear by the time we got into the hospital room.
I see.
So we were in the emergency room. I was forced myself to think clearly, to stay focused, and I would only allow myself to drift in and out and get vision problems when I wasn't talking with the doctor. And first what they do is they went to everybody, where do you hurt? So they look at everything that hurts, and then they'll search other places if you let them. I said, I'm not hurt anywhere. Here, but this is just bruised. You can see it's a little knot there. And how this got broken, like I said, I don't know. I was unconscious when that happened.
When you say how long it's going to take,
How long will
the pain go away?
Don't know completely. But mainly the pain is if I lift this arm. I used to be able to not lift it at all. I couldn't move it for the first week. And I had to sleep on my right side for the first 2 days. I couldn't sleep on my back or stomach. And then by the third day, after a day and a half, I was strong enough to get to Bangkok, where my partners and other people I knew were, who knew my diet and knew how to, to get the food and feed me. They did fine. Those people knew, I told them what I needed. They got me very, the freshest meat, it was butchered within hours, and, like 2 hours, an hour and a half. Sliced it very thinly for me. One of the Thai wives did that. And they mixed my honey and butter, because I had honey and butter with me. And they brought me some unripe bananas. So that's all I ate was the butter, honey, and bananas, and the butter and honey with the meat. And I was well enough 36 hours to get on a plane and get back to Bangkok. And then I spent 3 days in the bed mainly there. I walked, a few blocks a day to go to a massage place, and they do Thai massage for like $8 for 2 hours.
Massage?
Yeah.
Is it one day massage?
Yeah, definitely. But I have them do it bow bow, which means very softly and gently. Otherwise, they get pretty tough, pretty strong. Bow bow, bow bow. They forget, they start digging in. Bow bow. Makes them go softly. And then I met a new girlfriend. It was pretty hot and heavy, so the last 2 days were heavily into sex, even though I was doing, all this pain. But I knew I wasn't doing too badly. So I got on a plane. I got stuck in the plane broke down in Japan, so I got stuck in Japan for 14 hours at the airport. But they have a lounge there, executive lounge, with these bed chairs, which are pretty soft and comfortable. So that was easy. But I had that. Since the accident, they wheelchaired me into the airports, onto the plane, and then from the plane, they pick up my luggage and the whole thing. So that's how I returned. So I didn't have to lift anything, because there's no way I could lift anything, even with this arm. If I lifted with this arm, pull on the muscles there. Yes.
I have a question about your concern about your concussion. It was like you were willing to expose your other wounds and hurts to the doctors. What was it about the concussion that bothered you and that you wanted to protect it from them? And also, it's like doctors, it seems like one of their skills that's useful is they can do things like, patch together nerves and certain, triage handling and stuff like that.
Usually in the brain, they can't do a good job.
But I mean, how was your thought about your diagnosing yourself?
The only reason I was going here was if something was dislocated, I needed to get the bones put back in place.
Right.
There was nothing dislocated. They were broken, 4 breaks, but nothing dislocated.
I'm thinking about your head, though.
The head, there's nothing to dislocate. There's only a bruise in the brain. And you may have a blood clot, and there's really nothing they can do about it. And anyway, on this diet, you didn't get a blood clot.
But it was dented, right?
Yeah, it was dented.
But you were confident that the dent wasn't significant.
Yeah.
So that's what. Oh, got it. Okay.
I mean, even if it were, I knew that they would not be able to help that. I just had to let my body clear it.
And if you had told them that you had hurt your head, they would have x-rayed your head.
Yeah, that's what they did to the other people. All the other ones got concussions except for the monk. He didn't get a scratch.
Something to learn from that monk.
Buddhist monk.
Or he was so drunk he was so relaxed.
The thing was, he was leaning against the door that he was hit on.
Yes.
In his head, everything was already solidly against, so he didn't slam. I went from the passenger side, this right side of the car, all the way to the left side of the car when that car hit us.
Wow.
Yeah, 50 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Wow. So, I had a huge impact. He was right there all cushioned up against the door. He didn't get hurt.
You have great flexibility. You look great for having sustained such a...
I've got a bruise all the way down here. The bruises are dead cells, mainly red blood cells, that have been damaged and are coming out the skin. The body throws it out to the skin. Can't take it all through the blood, because then your blood would be quite thick and coagulated and rank. So it sends it out to...
What do we do if something like this happens to us? We don't have all the knowledge that you have. We don't know if you...
Well, that's why I'm putting it in the book. See, that's why when I was writing the book, I had these questions. They're all answered. Every question I had is answered. Yeah, so I can take people step by step, through it.
Medication.
You better phrase the question a little bit differently this time.
No, I said, I deliberately said, and I knew it, that, I had no personal experience with severe accidents on this diet. I took care of it. A hammer in the jaw knocked my teeth back, and then,
What a man!
I had a car accident 3 months after that.
What you won't do for science.
I was spiritually, and I was happy when that this happened to me, but that was a way to prove this diet works.
Well, I know the diet works, so I don't have to worry about that. It's just what to do in the situation where, you're limited with food, you're in a foreign place. I mean, everything. I didn't know anybody there. Didn't know any of these people.
So why can you not have a blood clot on this diet?
Pardon?
You say you cannot have a blood clot on this diet?
If you're following the diet rigidly, there's no way to get a blood clot.
Why?
Because everything is pretty resilient and elastic, so it'll expand without cracking and breaking. See, when you break something, you have a blood clot. It means that you've ruptured something and it's broken, and there's no elasticity. It won't go back into place. So it creates a collapsed vein or artery, and the blood will back up around that area and create a clot. And it'll keep going until the body cuts the passage of blood off into that particular vein or artery.
So can you be on the diet for 6 months and have those, be confident that your body works that way?
I wouldn't say 6 months. I'd say maybe a year, year and a half.
Okay.
It's doubtful, but I can't say for sure. And that I can never find out because I've been on diet too long. But I've had other people who've had severe accidents. One fellow who'd been on the diet probably about 9 months, and he had a severe bicycle accident where he opened his head like I did. He took the skin off with the hair and everything, because he slid when he hit a rock. And his whole collarbone was broken here like mine, but the whole skin was taken off. So he had a hole, a gap in his shoulder here, from the skin gone. So, he repaired in about 6 weeks. Completely. And what I did was I had one pretty open cut on my shin and on my chest. So I took a piece of meat and put it over it like a bandage, sealed up. The next day I opened it and the skin was all repaired. We're talking skin missing.
Yeah.
And the steak just just like all the cells around were able to take all the nutrients from the meat and rebuild that tissue that quickly, overnight. We're talking overnight in about 12 hours.
You know, Aajonus, I've noticed since I've been on this diet, it's been about 4 years or more, 4.5 years.
But you've been off and on it.
Not very much, though. But what I found is Band-Aids stick to my skin. I can't use Band-Aids anymore. Have you noticed that?
I don't use Band-Aids.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like something
Use a
that's
stick.
alive.
That's right.
Yeah, that's
It's something that's alive
Yeah.
within my skin is like trying to work on the chemicals of the Band-Aid or whatever, and it's
Oh,
so
yeah.
stuck I can like barely peel it off.
Yeah.
Because your body will absorb those adhesives, and there are polymers in those adhesives. All polymers are carcinogenic.
Oh, you're not supposed to use Band-Aid. Oh, this is...
Not a good idea. And this reminds me also, somebody had a huge, what did they call those, tabs or, skin tabs, what do they call them now?
Like little moles or something?
Yeah, they're like little warts or huge warts.
They call them tags.
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 Tags. I took a scissors and cut one off and put the meat over it. 5 hours later, it was sealed. Skin grew back. 5 hours.
So if you have a cut on your finger, just put meat on it.
Yeah, we'll wrap it around so it doesn't.
And it has to be red meat. So far, that's been.
I've tried chicken, it doesn't do this.
You don't
Also, we have
No, it's pretty dry by the time you get it.
Maybe there's some great benefit.
I don't know about that.
when you have a small cup, then lick it and this like.
Yeah, but you have to understand the tylen enzyme in the licking will keep taking the vitamin K and vitamin U out, so you're not going to continue bleeding. If you put the meat on, within a minute or two putting the meat on, it stops bleeding.
Not ground meat, just wrap.
You can put ground. I put ground on the one here.
It should.
I just smashed it and put it on.
That's cool.
Yeah, and it adhered. It infused like, it was part of my system then, But I got in a bath and it just came off and all the skin was all replaced 12 hours later.
Did you try egg white?
No.
Or eggs, raw eggs? No.
It doesn't dry quickly enough, so it mixes with the blood and it's good bleeding.
And somebody said urine, put urine on a cut.
There's, I gave a seminar, a lecture in Georgia in 1981, I believe it was, and there was a retired police officer, he was about 80 years old, because I was told, people were asking me about urine therapy, who's drinking your urine to recycle your protein. A lot of people don't eat enough proteins, they don't digest the proteins first time through, so if you drink your urine, you can provide that. A lot of Indians do that who can't get meat, maybe once a month or something like that. They drink their urine frequently in India. But he was telling me that before 1928, he was part of the Miami police force, that if they went to an accident or somebody had a severe cut, jugular vein or anything, one of the officers would urinate into a cup, one would pour it on the wound while they held it. In 1928, the medical profession had it outlawed. And said, we watched thousands of people die in the next 20 years because we couldn't do that. And just putting pressure on it doesn't work. He said, but for some reason, we pour that urine on and bleeding would stop.
That's just for a severe cut? Or
That was what he was telling me.
It seals it?
I've been doing this for the last 1 year.
Pardon?
I've been doing this for the last 1 year.
What?
I drink my own urine. Every time I pee, I have a cup.
Well, some people do that.
I was in prison jail last week, and they hold it for 8 hours, and I started drinking my urine in front of them. I put my hair, and I was keep challenging them. And after 8 hours, they asked me, please go, you're starting right.
Good for them.
It was a very good experience.
But why did you go to the prison?
I was tricked by cops. I was walking in the street, a woman asked me to go out with her. I said no. She said, you want to pay 50? I said no. And then I wanted to shake her hand to leave, and then they jumped at me and they called me a grab. Oh! I told them if they didn't let me go, I want chicken, I want beef, I want eggs, and all in my car, go get for me. And they freaked out. And After 8 hours, they asked me to leave. And everybody else was innocent too. They all said no to her, and they were all kids. They were all
They all
being friends.
taking them in.
Just so they can get money through the
Yeah,
boxes?
yeah.
That's a whole other subject.
What about you were on homeopathic?
Maybe not.
Well, I used to drink, when I was a vegetarian, I used to drink my urine because I had a problem digesting, problem with proteins. So I did drink my urine every day. But when I started on this diet, I had to stop because I got too acidic and irritable. And I would get fatigued from drinking.
What about your homeopathic urine? Like, you listen to the thing and then the homeopath makes a thing?
A tincture from it?
Yeah.
Well, anytime they make a tincture, they use alcohol or some other ingredient to alter the chemistry, so
I can throw that
it becomes
out
a
as
chemical.
Okay.
Well, she was mentioning a homeopathic preparation.
All homeopathics are just low-dose drugs. They have to use
always
drugs.
use alcohol.
They always use some chemical. Always a chemical, whether it's alcohol or something else.
So, Aajonus, when you were saying on this diet, you found that it wasn't beneficial to drink your urine.
Correct.
That's because you get so much protein that the body's constantly detoxing the old stuff out of the
It
tissues.
could be, and there's just too many toxins in the urine.
Uh-huh.
And some people still do it and they're okay, but most people I found, in experimentation it wasn't good. And animals, animals will drink their urine and eat their feces only if they don't get the proper foods. But once they get the proper foods,
They stop
they
it.
stop eating it. It's like the Howell, Edward Howell. He did the experiments to repeat what Pottinger did. Pottinger took the 900 cats over a 10-year period, fed one group cooked, one group raw, and over that 10 years, all of the cats that were fed cooked meat and cooked dairy all got diseases, all the diseases of man. And the cats that were fed all raw had no diseases. Well, Hal wanted to do the same thing, but he didn't want to have the life expansion of a cat. And all the cats lived 1/3 the normal life that they would live if they weren't autopsied before, just to check their organs and everything. Because Pottinger let very few live their lifespan, just a few in each group. But Howell wanted to see how they would all live if they had their full lifetime. So he used rats, which lived 3 years normally, healthy rats. And he found that the rats who were fed the cooked foods had all the diseases of man. The rats who had the raw foods had no diseases, but they all lived 3 years, both groups. And boy, it really confused him. So he went around for a year scratching his head trying to figure it out. Then all of a sudden he realized a note that appeared almost every day, these rats are eating their fecal matter.
Oh, wow.
And it was only the rats who were eating the cooked foods. So he redid the test, put a screen down, and they only lived 2 years instead of 3 years, plus all the diseases. So the fecal matter was very important for giving them protein, because in the bowels, your last stage of protein digestion, that's where the E. coli converts those proteins into B vitamins and compound amino acids, which backs up the nervous system. That's why almost all animals eat fecal matter. You get the E. coli growing quickly. The pharmaceutical and the medical profession wants you to believe that bacteria is the whole problem of everything, when it's got nothing to do with bacteria. All animals are living with bacteria for millions of years in complete harmony. No disease and no death. But the pharmaceutical and the medical industry, the pharmaceutical runs the medical industry. They dictate what happens in the schools and everything. So the doctors can't really blame them. You need to blame the pharmaceutical houses. So they want you to believe that bacteria is your problem, when bacteria just occurs as a consequence of disease, but does not create disease. But they're calling it just the opposite. Yet all of their drugs create more diseases, and there's no cure with the disease when you go their route. But if you look at other doctors of the period around Pasteur, who didn't believe in the germ theory, that believed in spontaneous eruption or transformation or transmogrification of one life form to another. Like you could take a certain bacteria and it could transform from a certain kind of salmonella to another form of bacteria, another type of amoeba that would help eat up certain decaying tissue.
Yeah, there were studies where they would show that the bacteria would convert from rods to spirals and so forth.
Right. And each one of them would have a different diet and eat up, clean up the garbage of the system.
Yep.
So all of these bacteria and parasites are very important for health if you're diseased. And the only animals that have disease are those that are poisoned by chemicals or those that are fed raw foods. So the diseases that, like mad cow and mad deer disease, that's a fallacy. The military was going around doing chemical warfare testing in Arizona, in Wyoming, Utah, that entire area, all through the 50s. And of course, those chemicals work over time, and each generation keeps collecting more of them and damage the system. Yet, the deer don't get crazy. Their systems don't dissolve like that. They found the prions in them and said, oh, these are bad deer because we found the folded prion. But the deers their brains weren't dissolving. They didn't have like the humans have CJD, which means that the brain starts melting and turns into a sponge and just dissolves, melts. And the reason the cows have it is because they're injected with vaccines. They have mercury in them, thimerosal, all vaccines. And these cows are getting injections every month. So that mercury starts collecting in a lot of them in the brain and nervous system, because mercury, especially liquid mercury, has a propensity to go into the nervous system. So when it collects in these animals, and the worst diets that they have, that they're eating byproducts of food processing, which is no food at all, no live food, no enzymes, no vitamins, no nothing live. They're eating this bad food, and then the mercury gets into the nervous system. There's nothing to prevent the mercury from dissolving the brain and nervous system. So that's why there's mad cow. And it's not the prion that causes it. The prion is a result, not the cause.
Now, wouldn't you have to argue that a little bit further? Because, the initial breakout was like in England, right? So, but, those practices have been going on in the United States for a long time. So how would you
Longer
explain...
in England. England has been vaccinating cows since the late 1800s. In this country, it mainly started about 1950s.
So you think it's a matter of the longevity of that? Do you have any other proof of speculation?
No, there's actually documented evidence. You just have to find it on the internet.
Really?
Yeah, definitely. And also, there's another factor involved. Dow, Monsanto, and some of the other genetic engineers want all these natural animals dead because they're allowed to develop, genetically alter, even if it's just one gene they alter, they can patent that animal. Patent that animal. And what happens with the patented crops? There was a case, 2 years ago in Canada.
Oh yeah, beautiful story.
This guy's, he's got an organic farm. The next door neighbor has got genetically grown crops. The seed flies over to his, just along the border. Monsanto goes in and sues the farmer for growing his crops. He wins. Monsanto wins. So this farmer is now lost his farm to Dow because he was growing, not purposely, those crops along his borders.
And the reason they know that is because Monsanto, whenever they do the growing, they send out guys that examine and take samples from it. It's so fucking evil, I can't believe it.
What do you mean?
And the courts are backing them up.
Yeah.
So the same thing is happening with animals. If you want an animal or a cow to grow it, and it's genetically engineered, guess who you have to pay royalties to? You have to pay a percentage of every pound of meat that you sell to Dow or Monsanto.
That's a drug.
They want to get rid of all these.
Chemicals.
They want to get rid of all the natural cattle.
It's
So
more
they can have
commonly known as the
patentable,
Church of Satan.
yeah, it's patentable agriculture.
You want to be
You know,
alive.
so they had the death seeds, right? Monsanto had the death seeds that won't propagate, right?
Yeah.
So the way you're talking, so the next step is we'll patent the men in the planet. Okay, the sperm won't have any viability, so if you want to become pregnant, you're going to have to buy the sperm from Monsanto, right? I mean, that's the way it's going.
True, that's true. It is very true.
That's how it is.
And if you want to breed your animals, they won't breed.
Yeah.
So you have to go to Monsanto, they have them artificially inseminated. $10,000 an implantation. That's it, it takes. So they're just greedy business.
Yeah, it's beyond greed.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
way beyond greed.
Anyway, that's a picture of how it's going. So I'm getting the trick out of this country. That's why I'm looking for land in Thailand and Cambodia, these places where it's still very primitive. Cambodia is phenomenal. I mean, they're still living in grass huts. Yeah, I mean, in the major cities, and there's like 8 major cities, and even it's pretty primitive there. They're eating, meat, raw meat on the streets, and everything's got flies and
They butcher it on the
worms in it.
streets, don't
And they got no disease.
They butcher it on the street too, don't they? They do it.
No, they butcher it and then bring it.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, they could cut some of them
Yeah.
right there in front of you. Flies are all over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Ajahn,
Eat it right there.
don't you think that the real war is here in the United States? I mean, this is where the battle's going to be won or lost, right? You can't let go.
Well, in Canada, here, and England,
Yeah.
what
and in
more
Europe.
about
Yeah.
food?
So, I like these primitive places. We want to catch up with it.
What are you looking?
Well, it's going to be a long process,
Oh, okay.
because I'm going to build 12 health centers over the planet. But the place where I will probably live is the most primitive. But each one of these locations is going to have a farm, because that's part of the health center. So it's going to be completely self-sustaining, solar generated, everything. So they're not going to be, in fact, we're doing a declaration of independence for each of these little centers. They're going to be like the Indians, or like a certain religious sect where we can be completely autonomous.
So you really want to live?
Well, the United States is getting pretty bad.
No, but you personally must really want to live.
I want to live.
So I know that's only a book and it's a stupid thing to say.
Yeah.
You really want to live, like you don't want anybody to live.
Right.
Okay.
Nobody's going to dictate how the kind of health I can have.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I'm going to dictate that.
Good for you.
Absolutely.
In Iran also, nature is becoming very strong.
Pardon?
In Iran,
Iran.
Iran? Yeah.
the Kurdistan, all the not just cattle city, but they're also growing olive tree in Tehran to help with biodiesel.
So anyway. Let's start with Q&A. We can get through here. So do you have a question, Kathy?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to know, when I went into the Ocean Avenue seafood place yesterday, I was talking to the guy at the oyster bar, and he was saying that when the oysters come in, what he does, he takes cold water and he washes them through all around to take off the sand and any kind of smell, because the oysters come in very smelly.
Yeah.
Well, I wanted to know, but since I ate that oyster, is the water going through that oyster? They open it up, and then I pick it up in my hand, and I go like that. Is that water?
The oyster,
What?
the oyster only eats one time a day, and it will only eat one time a day. And what it does is it absorbs seawater, and it filters the seawater.
No, I'm saying he washes it.
I'm telling you. Okay, so when they wash it with city water, if that oyster absorbs any of that water, it will kill the oyster. Oyster cannot live on fresh water, especially contaminated by the city water. So no, it does not get into the oyster.
So should I hold it like this and slip it in my mouth? I get any water.
When they wash it off, it's all off. Any water that comes out of the oyster is seawater.
No, I'm saying it drips. I'm saying is if I can go like that and drip it on the plate and so.
When he washes it, it's early. It's when he gets to the end.
Yeah.
So when he's dripping, it's going to be seawater.
No, they do that in the sushi bars. They'll open up the shell, they'll take the oyster and wash the actual oyster meat under the water.
Tell them not to do
No,
that.
he washes it beforehand.
Oh, okay.
Before it's
All right.
shoved.
So there's no water on there.
The water on the shell.
The water on the shell, if there's any water on the shell by the time you get it, it's just the water from inside the oyster that's broken.
So whatever I slip out like that, I can pour it out on the bowl and then drink it all?
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah.
Okay, so it's no city water that
Right. That's
stays
not
on the
city water,
shell.
That's ocean water.
I know.
It's already been highly filtered from the oysters.
I'd like to think about it and have you come back to me.
Okay.
Thanks.
Yes, I have a question about chiropractic and rolling. I want to hear a little
Okay.
bit about that.
Now, when you're at a place, when I had this happen, you know that I had some damage along my spine because of the pressure. When I broke this rib here, one of the ribs that went back to my spine right about here got bruised. So it felt like a knife was in my back. So I suffered with it for a while. I didn't want to adjust right away because I was in too much pain to be adjusted. But as soon as I could, I had a chiropractor adjust that spine and got rid of the pain, most of the pain, just like that. So I'm for chiropractics. Very helpful. But I think that what you should do is, what I did was I apply a hot water bottle on, an area that I'm going to be adjusted in, or if I'm going to have an entire adjustment, I get in a hot tub before I go. So all the muscles are relaxed. Because if you're at a place, it's because the muscles are very tight. And if they're tight, you're going to be, let's say the spine is like this, it's out of place, and normally it's like this. When it's like this, it's pinching on the nerves in between, causing the pain. So if you go to a chiropractor and he adjusts you, all those muscles are still tight, so it's going to wrench you right back out of place. So if you take a hot bath and relax the whole body, those muscles relax, so that when he goes back, put you back in place, you're going to stay in place a lot longer.
One thing I want to say before I go on, and you finish your question. I forgot to, my question, my term was, if anybody wants any monkfish liver or glands, I'm getting the grass-fed buffalo from North Dakota.
Kathy supplies us with glands and other
specialties. And also I wanted to know if you wanted the brain, because since you had that problem with your head, maybe you want to have some brain.
Med, yeah.
Oh, come on, you're not afraid, Freon. Come on. Freon going to push you around.
When will you get it?
I'm going to talk to him this coming Thursday, and hopefully he'll set a date for me when it would be
Well, I'm
next delivery.
leaving for Taos on the 23rd, so
Okay.
it's got to be before or after that.
I mean,
And I will.
I can seal the brain in a glass jar,
Yeah.
and the time comes when you're home, I bring it to James and
Okay.
have it
That's
sent to
good.
you
Sure.
in your name.
Definitely.
What's your phone number again?
I'll tell you after the claim.
No, go ahead and do it now.
All right, it's 310 if anybody's interested in calling me, 657-5174. Also, the monkfish liver, like you said, it's good for the neurological system and the vision. And it comes from the Atlantic area of anywhere from Maine all the way down to Virginia, up to the coast, around that coastal area. So you're getting a fish liver that we can rapidly use. I mean, it will help us rapidly help us get well in a better way.
Yeah.
Than we've been
All right.
doing.
Okay, as far as the rolfing goes, rolfing is a very brutal, painful manipulation, massage. They will stick their entire thumb up your nose and they'll work it and they'll crack everything and they'll dig in until you bruise. And they bruise you. If you've got any lymphatic congestion and lymphatic dryness or even venous dryness, it will break all of these canals. And what happens is you will bleed and you will get all these serums in between. That can lead to lupus, cancer, all kinds of problems. If you've got a lymphatic congestion, you can really push yourself into lymphoma quickly. So rolfing is the worst physical therapy that can be done. The worst physical therapy that can be done.
What is it called?
Rolfing. The best physical therapy is light touch massage. It's like electric. You just have somebody go like this over you.
That's like,
That's more fun than rope.
Feel that? It stimulates everything, all
that's
over the
lymphatic
body.
drainage.
That's over you.
That's lymphatic drainage.
My touch.
What? Well, it's not lymphatic, it gets your nervous system, gets everything.
Oh, no, but I mean,
Yeah,
I had
everything.
to do that to me.
What they call it? See how it stimulates? I just call it a light touch, electrical massage. Yeah, that feels? It's like that to do?
I can do that.
I can do it easily, it's easy to do than the other stuff.
You don't roll because you're down to study.
Stimulates everything.
They charge lots of money.
Myself, I've been doing it for
No. I just started.
You just started?
Yes, I had two sessions.
my coins to go
So that's
There is a way, like, I'll feel like,
Like my teacher studied golf, and he's very much into,
steering wheel or the
But that's,
really being
that's
in touch with
natural.
people are feeling.
It's an
So he
overproduction
does
of
the
proton.
rafting model
When
of
it
the
rains,
13
it brings
sessions.
the, out
But he
the
touches you,
ions.
instead
So
of just
there's not
gouging
much
in,
electricity
no
in the
sense
air.
of tuning in. He goes out in his heart, and he touches you with love, and he goes very gentle and soft, and gets you to tune in to what you're feeling.
Stimulates
Go very
everything.
slow, so
I'd be able to
it's
do it better, but I can't
model,
reach you.
but there's not
Iron
this
it.
gouging just through you and only feeling from your wrist down,
Do what?
your heart all the way through, getting personally tuned in to feel. So there is
So what it just
benefit.
makes you
Some
instantly
pain,
relax and just feel that electricity.
You do that with the whole body, or is
that enough? All over the whole body.
It's what he said.
Can we keep doing this?
Pardon?
No, but you will.
Yes, you will. If you'll do it as a therapy, I can recommend it.
Who do I give my training?
If you get, you got it done to you, and you just do it.
If the muscles are tight, the back,
Pretty good. Chance to actually do work right now.
So there's some progressive feelings that have to
If you go with
come into
fingernails, it will cause even more.
contact, like unloved
I'll say hello for you.
Usually this is a lot
It usually
more
comes from
nurturing.
human force,
Yeah, the
because
nails
all
are a
the
little bit
memories
more
from
electric.
how you
I got the
had
nails.
past life.
I'm saying that the nails
So
are
if
good.
you feel tight, instead of relaxing, it creates a lot of those feelings.
Yeah,
It puts them back.
barely just touching the skin, like
It brings it up from what you want to do. You don't need it. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, because everything else.
No,
They have that
in the Mayans,
Except it goes one way.
That'd be great, understood.
No, that's, I learned that from the Mayans in Yucatan. The old Mayans still live in the tribe. That's the kind of massage, it's called Zanchi. We call it Zanchi
Working
massage.
on the client, you hate your job.
Okay, next question.
I have to think about it.
Okay, Roger.
I wanted to ask about the high meat. Yesterday you told me that I had a condition, I can't remember, that the high meat won't work as well, but then you said to keep eating high meat. So I wanted to know more about that. And I wanted to know
Well,
about...
let's take one at a time.
Okay. I only got two.
Okay, high meat, for those who don't know, means you take the meat and let it get full of bacteria until it's sticky. Those who saw me on how many people saw me on Ripley's Believe It or Not?
I missed it.
Nobody saw it.
I missed it. We wanted to record it.
They showed it again. I just got an email. They showed it twice in the last 3 months again. Because I was in Thailand. They don't notify me, but they've aired it about 6 times since they made it a year and a half ago. A year and a half in July. So they showed it in July 17th for the first time in 2003, I think it was.
What TV station is it?
2002, I guess it was. was, if you know, July 17th, 2002, that's the one I was originally on. So if you ask them for a copy of that tape, they might be able to send it to you. But I took some meat and glands that were up to a year and 3 months old. They were black and green with mold and bacteria, and I ate about 2 cups that day. And the poor cameraman was vomiting.
What station did they air that show on?
Ripley's, believe it or not, I don't know.
You don't know what TV station?
WSB 7 or 5.
Oh, okay.
And anyway, high meat is high bacteria, meat with high bacteria in it. What it does is it goes up and eats decay in the body. We're very, overly cleanly in our society. We antibacterial everything. Vapors in the air, the pollution, everything destroys bacteria in the body, so the body doesn't have its natural vultures and crows to go and eat up the toxic matter. So your body has to make solvents, which are viruses, to go in and wash out the decay. So to help nurture these bacteria in the body, you eat high meat. High meats will encourage the bacteria to help you clean easier with less decay. Because when bacteria or parasites eat a decaying tissue, a diseased or damaged tissue, it will reduce. It's like we eat 7 pounds of food a day and we have less than a pound of fecal matter a day. And bacteria and parasites are the same way, only they can take 100 times the matter and reduce it to 1% of what they've eaten. So you've got very little waste matter if they're doing it. If your body has to use a virus, which is a soap, a solvent, to clean it out, then you've got all this waste product that's accumulated because there's nothing to reduce it. Viruses are not alive. The idea that they're contagious is absolutely the most ridiculous thing ever postulated. That's like saying Tide soap is contagious because it's in so many homes. No, viruses are produced, they're proteins, combinations that are produced of dissolved matter. But it takes lots of fluid in conjunction with that to spread out and dilute the poison and to dissolve it. So you've got a lot more mass of poison. That's why viral infections are usually a lot worse than bacterial infections, because when you've got a bacteria or a parasite, it reduces the waste and the contamination to a small amount of toxicity, but when you're using virus, it spreads all this contamination and dilutes and permeates every part of your body.
So that's also why you can't kill viruses, because they're already
That's right. They're not alive to kill. Yet 90% of all doctors give antibiotics for viruses. Really? Yeah.
They do.
Yeah. And the idea that you can vaccinate for a virus is the most absurd thing in the world. Like flu, that's got to be alive again. And there's no life to a virus. So it's an absurdity. So the raw meat thing was the high meat thing. I said that her condition, where she needs the bacteria, it's not going to grow in that area where she needs it most, because she's got metal poisoning. The bacteria goes in there and eats a little bit of that bacteria. It eats a little bit of that decay, and the metal poisoning will destroy the bacteria, so it can't thrive. That's why so many people are getting so diseased, is because there's so much pollution in their bodies cannot utilize bacteria and parasites easily in the system. So they have to use virus, soap, solvents to dissolve all this matter. So people are getting sicker and sicker and weaker all the time. But if we just let bacteria do it, keep ourselves clean, let bacteria do it, we heal like I do quickly. Now, the doctors said that I wouldn't be able to move and work for 6 weeks. I was working within 2 weeks. I was working within a week, actually, but not many, an hour or 2 hours at a time. Yesterday I did full consults. And even this morning I did a full consult before I came here to do this. And it's only been 18 days since the accident. So if you take care of yourself, you'll be able to be much healthier.
So first we need to pull the metals out before the high meat can do its full work.
Correct. But there are areas in the body that don't have the metal poisoning that would help in another area. But the areas where you're the weakest is where you've got all that metal poisoning. The bacteria can't help you there, but bacteria can help you in other areas. So, but I was talking about that particular process would not help. The high meat would not help that particular problem.
So, and then can I ask the next question?
Go ahead.
About the electricity, the things that emit electricity. I'm not clear, even though I know you've written about it, what that electrical charge or whatever is. What is it, and what does it do to the body?
It's a any electrical field emits irradiation, whether it's radio waves or whatever. And you can take a meter. I let my meter out to somebody before I left.
What's it called, that magazine? I forget.
The magazine? You mean the meter?
That you said by the
gauge.
internet, yeah.
Yeah, it's called a trimeter. Trimeter, Trimeter, trimeter. The trimeter can gauge electromagnetic fields, radio waves, and other types, like radiation from microwaves.
Like ionic.
I know a guy in the raw food staff who actually does that professionally. He's works with phones, but if he goes to your house, I think he did it for Kathy,
Oh, yeah, right, he did.
I live in Arizona. Yeah.
Well, you can do it yourself. You can order those.
Yeah, that's what she got their trimeter name.
So
you can take that meter and you can put it on your computer or whatever, and you can find out how far that field goes. It's damaging to the body because it alters the molecular structure of cells. The city of Los Angeles, the power department 10 years ago put out a warning with your electric bill, saying it's been proved that electromagnetic fields alter the molecular structure of cells, of animal cells, including human. If you're using an electric blanket, do not sleep with it on. You turn it on, heat your bed, turn it off before you get in. And let me tell you, they would not have issued that. It wasn't scientifically proved that it kills and damages harmfully human cells. And it's been proved anything over 3 gauss is harmful.
3 gauss?
Gauss, G-A-U-Z-E, gauss. That's the measure for the electromagnetic field.
G-A-U-S-S.
G-A-U-S-S.
S-S. Two S's, yes.
G-A-U-S-S-E, okay.
No E.
No E?
G-A-U-S-S, gauss. It's the name of it.
Because I've seen it spelled differently.
Maybe that was in another language.
That was in German.
Yeah.
Anyway, like in my laptop computer, when I first got a laptop, I just got a new house in Venice, and I'm working away, and all of a sudden, terrible pain, body, all of a sudden, like carpal tunnel syndrome, but all the way up to the elbow and even higher. So I'm thinking, am I getting bone cancer again? And so then I realized, wait a minute, it could be something environmental. So I called an environmental specialist. He came in. When I was asked, there's no radon, there's no nothing here, except your laptop computer is emitting about 75 gallons.
That's right.
And he showed me that.
Is that more than a desktop?
This is a text. Pardon?
Is that more than a desktop?
No, desktop is worse. Tower is worse. You have to keep that 3 feet away from you. So he said, and he took the meter and he went from the laptop and he said, you need to get yourself a separate keyboard. And here's how far you need to keep it. And when the needle went down to 0.5 to 0 is where I keep the keyboard. I plug it into my laptop. Next day, after that, all the pain went. Gone completely. So all this carpal tunnel syndrome is all bullshit.
I have it.
But I mean, it's not from being positioned. It's not from ergonomics. It's from the electricity coming from these machines. People used to have these old-fashioned typewriters where you had to pound.
Yeah.
Can you imagine how much energy went into it? No carpal tunnel until electric typewriters came in. And computers. And everybody's got these electrical fields hitting them all over their hands while they're working.
So you get it from the tower, too?
The tower's worse.
worse than that.
You have to keep that 3 feet away. I only have to keep my laptop 6 inches from the bottom of my keyboard, 6 inches from the bottom of the laptop. So I'm like 1.5 feet away from the processor, the drive that's in the computer. But a laptop sends out 150, 200 gallons.
But that
So you have to 3 feet away from it.
The hard drive cord doesn't allow you to do that. Put a 3.
All you have to do is get a longer one.
Oh, you can get a long one.
Get a longer one.
What if the tower is hidden inside like a cabinet?
Doesn't make any difference.
Then,
You can take a meter and you can see it. And if you've got a special, let's say you've got a special chamber, it would cost a fortune for one of those. And you can just take your meter and just see, protect yourself. Every time that meter costs about $150, $135, $40. But let me tell you, for your health, you can go around your house. If your bed is near one of those fields, move it away from that field. Because you've got the wires running through your house, and some of them can be pretty bad.
Yeah, refrigerators are pretty intense.
Yeah, refrigerators and blenders. Blenders are the worst. But you don't blend for very long. That's why in my book I say you blend 5 seconds, you blend 10 seconds, you blend a minimum of 30 seconds, and you don't have any harm. And you don't stand there, looking at it or holding it. You get away from it while it's running. But you have to really be exposed to those fields for 4 or 5 minutes at a time.
Yeah, I run my blender with a keyboard, actually.
How can I do that? Remote control.
That's it. Well, the remote, though.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, it is.
Aajonus, have you heard that you can take a little portable transistor radio and tune it off of the station so you just hear static? And then that works like a meter. So when you hear it get more intense static, there's more.
Yeah, but that's certain fields.
That would be for ionizing radiation purposes.
Oh, okay. All
I
right.
suppose.
For everything. Okay, do you have a question? Did you come up with a
Yeah, I
question
came
now?
up with my question. Okay, concerning menstrual periods for women, have you noticed that some women, when they're on the primal diet, that they have a period of time where they go without their period, like a long period of time, but then it comes back, like maybe the body's healing in that area for a while or something?
No, most of the time I find on this diet that women who haven't had periods even in their 50s will go back to menstruating.
They will.
Very few people have ever said they stopped menstruating on this diet.
Okay. And when you eat cooked food, that produces hormones, right?
Well, when you cook food, it depends upon the body, but you can produce poor hormones.
Yeah, poor hormones. Doesn't, like caffeine or anything.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering if those hormones could create the period, or if it's just the natural hormones that create the period. If
It's any hormones can do it, but certain kinds of chemical constituents that get into those hormones can cause a cessation of menstruation.
They said that it's not the eggs that they run out of, it's something with the brain, within the brain channel.
It's a hormone.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
a hormone change.
No, I'm saying that they said the ovaries don't stop working because if women doesn't run out of eggs. They came out with that recently in the paper.
But it's from the pituitary gland or something. No, I was just wondering if...
But it's a hormone.
Yeah, I was just wondering if maybe sometimes the reason a woman's having her period is because she's cleansing. It's a way of her cleansing out.
Well, that's normally, but all other animals other than humans menstruate at the same time they are fertile. So
Right.
the eggs that don't get fertilized get dumped immediately.
I see.
And that's the flow. But humans, because we've been eating cooked food so long, we have a different cycle. We have the fertilization period and then menstruation that follows 12, 15 days later.
Just because of cooked food?
Yeah. Because of the contamination in the body.
So the healthier we get,
So you're
Pardon?
so the healthier we become, then we'll start becoming...
You're talking about 10,000 years of change.
Really?
So I don't know.
I have sort of an interesting comment on that. There's a technique called lunaception, and the idea, very briefly, was that women used to be in cycle with the moon, with the new moon, and that they would all experience periods at the same time, and what messed it up was interior lighting and unnatural lighting of one kind or another. And there's actually a little book out there called Lunaception that explains how you can utilize like a 40-watt light bulb or something like that, and just as you're sleeping, you synchronize the exposure of your skin with the new moon so that, you have your light sticking out from under the cover or something like that, and you'll go back in synchronization with the moon. And I was married at the time, and there was this girl that she'd had her period regularly since, her first menses, and suddenly we started doing this, and then the first period was like way overdue, and then suddenly within a week she had a second period, and it was really intense, and the third period fell right on the new moon, and we just stayed with it. So
a lot of the women's diet changed that cycle without, the effects of using a light chain.
Yeah, that could be true.
A lot of women with the cycle.
So you're saying on the primal diet, it's more likely the woman is going to get her period again rather than stop her period.
Yeah.
Have you ever had anyone say that they stopped having their period?
Probably had one that I remember, but I've had probably 40 women who were in menopause already, had gone through it, went on the diet, and started menstruating. In fact, one of them had a baby. She wanted to have a baby. She went through menstruation. Went through menopause, thought she was never going to have a baby, and then started her period again and got pregnant.
Right.
So she had her baby at 56.
So, oh my gosh.
Just remember, women, you can only get pregnant 5 days a month. That is it. That is all.
So Aajonus, a food that would actually produce healthy hormones to nurture the uterus and ovaries?
It's the placenta, isn't it?
Well, it's any glandular tissue that will stimulate that.
And you mentioned the nut butter formula too, right?
No, the nut butter formula helps bind with excess hormone.
Oh, I see. Oh, okay.
So nut formula is not for somebody who has a low energy level. If you've got psychological problems, a little nut formula will help bind with those psychological chemical byproducts.
What did you say?
But if you have too much nut formula, it's going to arrest a lot of hormones in the system and bring your adrenaline level, your energy level down.
It'll bring your energy level down if you eat too much nut butter?
Yeah.
Okay, because I've just been doing tons of nut butter, and then I've gone without my period now for about 3 months.
Yeah, you just keep arresting your hormones.
Oh, that's what is going on. That's what I was trying to figure out. I had this idea the nut butter formula was helping my hormones. So what kind of food do I need to eat to help my...
Like I said, glands. Any gland.
Any glands,
Any
okay.
gland, yeah.
That's the big...
And just red meat and eggs won't do it?
Oh, it'll help.
Yeah,
but if you want concentrated, you have to... glands produce hormones.
Okay.
That's why they're called glands. So if you get a gland, you're going to get a hormone. Lots of hormone within that gland. The body can take any hormone as long as it's raw and convert it to another hormone. Wow. We can take adrenaline and make it a pituitary. We can take a pituitary and make it into adrenaline. Your body can convert any of them.
I was talking about two specialized glands, and that's the placenta and the ovary. When you age those glands, doesn't that produce the body to repair those tissues?
No.
When you take age high ovaries or high placenta.
You mean for menstruation?
Or whatever you're doing.
No, if you're talking about the reproductive glands, then you can look to the reproductive glands to help. But if you're looking at pituitary or adrenal, if you want the body to focus on that, then you eat the adrenal gland. It's the adrenal gland if you want. If it's a pituitary, you eat the pituitary. The American Indians knew that. That's why anybody who had a disease of a particular gland got the gland of that animal. Any gland would help, but they knew that it would help that gland specifically to be eaten.
That special gland.
The gland you're having a problem with. Clay.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm just trying to take everything in. It's great. I'm writing it down. I don't know anybody. I know other than yourself. I don't know if anybody else is trying to deal with the community as a whole. Project that I'm dealing with, My question.
I'm going to hold on and stop this a second. My publisher is here. He's been bringing some books for me. Pardon?
Maybe just got some books you can buy. Ask him.
This is the kid who got my book published. That was 7 years ago when he published the book. So he was a baby.
Any chance at all?
Need some help?
No, he's just going to bring. Put it.
I do the same. I don't know what that means.
So I need to just kind of pick your brain for a minute. I'm going to be talking to, as I mentioned, the Medical Society of this county, San Bernardino County. I represent obviously a diverse point of view from where they are. I'm not looking for a so-called bullet. I'm looking for a way to kind of encourage them to look outside the box. And I'm trying to give them just a few ideas of how I healed myself and process I'm in. And so I'm trying to make a connection between where I am and where they are. And where do I go, how do I go in there? How do I begin to communicate with them? Because their minds, they're doctors, they're nurses, they're all this. How do I get in there? They're doing research. And so what I know about what they don't know, and my hostility to what they're doing. So I have to kind of watch myself and what I say. And your great wisdom, how would you approach?
Well, whenever I'm dealing with a medical body like that, I take the facts with me. And in the back of, in one of the chapters, the very last chapter I think it is, in the Recipe for Living Without Disease, it talks about all the universities who use raw milk to reverse diseases. And you can open their minds with that one. They say, oh, you can reverse diabetes by drinking raw milk, and pasteurized milk causes diabetes? And when you've got these tests going on, you start giving them this information, you give them just a little bit of it at first. And the weeks go by, and they absorb that, and they can't counter it, but it grows. It starts growing like a plant in their brain, and then it opens them up, and then they want more and more. Some of them will just shut down completely, but most of them are very open. Because the human mind is very inquisitive.
What are the universities that are listed?
You have to look through it.
In the Recipe for Living Without Disease?
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Abraham, do you have a question?
No, nothing.
Nim, is that what you call yourself? Nima, okay. And Francis?
Yes. I have a question for myself and a question for my stepfather.
Okay. Well, your stepfather can't ask it?
No, but
She wears the better.
You can ask it. Well, the question for myself is, my sleeping problem has always been that I sleep way too much. So once I got on the diet, at least my energy during the day is pretty good. But I still need like 9 or 10 hours sleep every day. And if I have to wake up, or if I go to bed late for a reason, and I have to wake up early for something important, it's one of the most difficult things for me. It's always been my whole life. And I haven't noticed a change yet, even though I'm being, pretty good.
How long?
Mid-February.
February? Sometimes it takes much longer. 90% of healing happens in the sleep state. Normally I only sleep 4.5 hours a day, totally.
I love to get
3 hours at night, 3.5 hours a day, half an hour to an hour during the day. Sometimes I go with an hour and a half sleep a day continuously. That's all. During this healing period, I'm sleeping 12, 14, 16 hours a day. Yeah, can't heal quickly without sleep state. With Cleopatra, her beauty sleep, that was true. She would force herself to take an hour, 2 hour nap during a day to get her beauty sleep, because it rejuvenates the whole body. So sleeping, you should take advantage of, because very few people get to heal like that. But once you're on the diet after a while, then you'll break through that. Now I've seen people who are very sick take 3 years to break that. I've had one woman had 28-year-old girl had 30 tumors in her breast, tumor in her right kidney attached to her adrenal gland, and her hip bone. She's chronically fatigued for 8 years before she went on the diet and worked 6 hours a week. That's all she could work. Slept 12, 14-hour days. After 2.5 years on the diet, that changed. Went down to 8 hours, 8.5 most. Now, 6 years on the diet, she sleeps maybe 6, 8 hours, and that's it. And she goes all the time. All this energy goes. So it depends upon your health and what's happening in your body. But count your blessings that you can sleep.
Don't fight it.
I guess I've always felt kind of envious of people who are really sharp in the morning, that they don't even need an alarm clock. They just see the light coming through the window and they're up. And I'm literally fighting the sheet. I have wars in my mind when I'm waking up because my mind wants to wake up and my body just can't wake up.
You've got low hormone.
So Lance.
That's a healthy way, but you have to eat a lot more meat, butter with your meat. Butter and meat together, no matter what kind of meat it is, white or red, chicken or fish and beef. But a combination of all three, along with butter, will allow your body and help your body produce more hormones than if you use cream or olive oil or any of those. Butter is the key to building hormones. Butter with meat. Meat doesn't matter.
I just thought of it. I passed.
Yes, sir.
What about sauerkraut or acidophilus or even cheese? Does this do the same thing as high meat?
No, they
have bacteria.
They do, but in a different way.
Yeah.
The mold in cheese will help break down exterior and interstitial properties. That won't help with glands, it won't help with any of that. But it will help in, let's say you've got connective tissue of your skin, it'll help those areas, that bacteria. But it can cause, it can affect you like candida, it can cause athlete's foot, something like that, but those are good things. Athlete's foot's a good thing, but the pharmaceutical industry doesn't want you to believe that because they want you to have the chemical, they want you to eat the bad foods which cause it, that the fungus eat that bad food, and they want you to keep buying their chemicals. So they want you to have the fungi. And they never create a drug that will completely get rid of your problem.
Yeah, never.
Only one that will take care of it for a few hours or a day.
Yeah.
So you have to keep taking the product. If you don't want athlete's foot or other kinds of diseases, you have to stop eating the foods which generates that kind of bacterial need. Now, if you're talking about sauerkraut, that's a vegetable. Yes, I encourage people to eat sour vegetable juice because it'll help go in and clean out the vegetable oils. Vegetable, as I told these three yesterday during the consult, or one today, that in the consult that hardening of the arteries and tissue in the body comes from vegetable oils, not animal fat. You take animal fat, butter, cream, and even you put them with dirt, it'll mold and turn into earth. If you take vegetable oils and put them with dirt, it'll turn into rock. That's what amber is. That's what most of your stones are. Your precious stones. It's plant fat under high pressure for a long time. And when you hydrogenize a fat like hydrogenized peanut butter or safflower oil, and you use those, you're basically creating rocks in your body. Anything that's built into it hardens. Pardon?
If you heat the oil, has the same effect?
Even if you don't, it's worse. If you heat it, it's worse. If you hydrogenize it, it's even worse because it forms the same molecular structure as plastic. That's how plastic was invented. This guy went to sleep when he was hydrogenating some fat, went to sleep, it stayed 6 hours beyond his normal hydrogenation. He had plastic. That's how plastic was invented.
It gives a whole new meaning to plastic surgery.
Exactly. So these fermented, things like cabbage juice in small amounts will cause a internal cleansing. And that's good, especially if you've been a high vegetable oil eater in your lifetime, margarine and garbage like that. How about
So what you do?
all of the tribes that eat lots of fat, even cooked, have no heart disease, no cholesterol problem.
So what do you suggest, making cabbage juice once a month?
What about the cabbage?
No, I'm going to get into that. It's so specific, you know, to control, to keep yourself from going off the deep end. That's why I'm writing the next book, the detoxification book. That's going to probably be Christmas. So I'm not going to give you pieces of information that will make it deadly for you.
How about acidophilus?
Acidophilus is really a waste. Acidophilus normally is in milk. If you want natural acidophilus, it breaks down the sugars only. Bulgarius breaks down the fats. Caucasus breaks down the protein. So you need all of those bacteria. People say, oh, I take enemas and colonics. I'll drink lots of acidophilus. Hello? Acidophilus doesn't exist in the bowel.
That's right.
E. coli exists in the bowel. Acidophilus exists in the small intestines and the stomach to digest milk fats and other sugars. Bowel is a place to digest your proteins mainly.
Now, the E. coli survived the trip through the stomach acids and everything.
E. coli are generated in the bowel.
Well, no, what I'm saying is that like with the high meat, that's the reason that you're taking the high meat is for the E. coli, so it's going to
No, it's for other bacteria. E. coli will be... You're not going to have E. coli in high meat unless you take some fecal matter and spread it on it.
Oh, it's other...
And I do that. Yeah, I'll do that. If I want E. coli in my meat, and I want to breed E. coli, I take some fecal matter from the cow, and I'll rub it on the meat, and then I'll have E. coli. Otherwise, E. coli doesn't exist on meat unless fecal matter touches it.
But they'll survive the trip through the stomach.
No. Well, then hydrochloric acid will destroy it here, but not in the bowel. So you have most of your hydrochloric acid in the stomach and the intestinal tract.
But if you're taking
small
intestine, like the high meat, where
you're going for other bacteria, you're not after
but
the E. coli.
those bacteria are going to survive.
Yeah, they're part of your small digestive tract.
But if you want to increase your E. coli population, I think it was in a recent email you sent out, you talked about the eating of the fecal matter.
Yes, but you have to eat fecal matter.
But that's going to survive? Why would that survive?
Because it gets it's so deep in the vegetable matter of the animal that's eating it, your hydrochloric acid won't penetrate it. It takes a certain kind of enzyme that only exists in herbivores.
I got some people...
So
somebody needs to come out with a time-release shit capsule.
Well, I'm writing a book. My fourth book will be called Eat, Shit, and Live. It's a comedy spoofing everything that's backward about our civilization. It's showing that, the University of Toronto, in association with the Children's Hospital of Toronto, have been using E. coli for over 30 years now to completely dissolve human brain tumors in 2 to 7 days, including the vessels going to the vein.
Just anybody
that's all they've used it on. Yale's been using salmonella to dissolve other tumors. Salmonella. So with the medical profession and pharmaceutical house wants you to get rid of all bacteria in your body, so you have to go to them. One injection of that attenuated salmonella that Bion products put out last year cost you $8,000 when you use egg rot. Some chicken rot and eat it.
Anybody that's
$8,000. And then they attenuated the salmonella so that it cuts off the oxygen to the tumor, but no longer eats the tumor.
Wow.
So what they do now is charge you $12,000 for an injection of a solvent to dissolve the tumor. $20,000 of treatment when you can just eat high meat, high eggs, and get rid of your cancer easily at pennies.
Anybody that's interested in getting the large intestine with the contents, I also get that from the buffalo.
Yes.
So again, you can see me.
And I have a lot of people that eat shit and live.
I'm sending it out to you. I have my box ready to send it to you.
What does attenuated mean?
Altered.
Altered.
Genetically altered.
I see.
So there's lots of people who have severe mass depression. It's usually because they don't digest proteins properly. So eating fecal matter gets rid of it immediately. So does high meat. but fecal matter will get rid of it longer.
So does the metals...
It creates a high.
Do the metals affect the fecal matter? If I eat buffalo shit, will that other stuff affect, which I want to as soon as I can get it?
Yeah,
Will
I'm
that other thing
getting very
affect?
soon. I'm getting
You still, the place where you need the breaking down heavy metals, it's not going to get there.
This is shitty.
Hot baths are the only way you're going to get rid of yours. Hot baths in the, in the juice, the cilantro with the coconut cream.
So the question for him,
Okay.
it's about
Let him ask it. You got a voice. You got a nice voice.
Oh, yes, I do.
way of describing it. Bone loss. That's all he wants to know about. He has bone loss in his hip from, the doctor says it's a result of chemotherapy.
He has what?
I had a chemotherapy. I had to lose my bone. I had to replace my hip.
Oh, so you got a femur joint replacement?
Yes.
Okay.
I had to do
He hasn't done it yet. That's what the doctor is saying. He
Oh,
needs to.
okay.
But they even said that it's not going to be effective, but it's the only thing they can think of.
Okay. I have, even my father, well, let me tell you, a year ago, September, I was in Florida. And I was doing a seminar in Fort Lauderdale or West Palm Beach. And I said, I've never been here to Florida before, and yet they had like 70 people in this room. They were all ages. Florida's full of a lot of elderly people. And I said, how did you people find out about this diet? And why are so many of you here? And one man stood up and said, I had a hip replacement. And I was in pain for 2 years. And they replaced it again, and they did all kinds of things. And nothing could stop it. Drugs wouldn't stop it, nothing. And he said, I ate your meat for 10 days, raw meat for 10 days, and the pain was gone.
Oh my God.
Another guy stood up and said, I had a knee replacement. Same thing. Ate the raw meat, pain was gone. These people had suffered for years with pain. Raw meat, pain was gone. Very simple.
Okay. So does it have to be raw red meat, or can it be chicken and fish?
It should be a combination. You have to understand that the bone marrow in the joint is like butter. But it is fed a lot by the red meat because the bone marrow breeds your red and white blood cells. So for some reason, red meat is still very important for the bone marrow. And the bone marrow is usually pushing off the poisons to the joint that's causing the pain. And when your body gets the proteins, then it can bind with those poisons, and then they're not irritating the joint. So red meat in combination with other meats is the best way to do it.
Now, what about eating bone marrow?
My question is, so how strict do we need to be on this diet and how long in order to see
It depends upon the individual. It's an individual situation. The man who had the hip replacement, they had 2 years of suffering, year and 3 months, year and 7 months, something like that. No, it's year plus 3/4 of a year, so it must have been 9 months. A year and 9 months of pain. He did the diet probably 75%. But he made sure that he ate 1.5 pounds of meat a day. He was better son.
Yeah.
1.5 pounds of meat a day.
3 pounds.
No, I don't feel you.
Okay, so...
What about eating bone marrow? Would that help?
Yeah, that would help. Okay. But you have to if you get bone marrow, you have to get it from an organic animal.
Right.
And that's difficult to get. I get it from her when I get it.
They have it down at the co-op now from the bison people, the North Star bison.
North Star bison is not organic.
It's not?
No.
So you don't recommend it?
Not for bone marrow and gland.
Oh.
Because
But
they
sell it down
use
here.
dewormers monthly, and they give the females vaccines.
So, because James is selling it down there.
I know. I told James. James knows.
Still, people look at it.
He's selling it, because he wants to offer it. But he says if I give him, some other people, some other sources, he'll carry those other sources. But I don't. The only sources that I have are Kathy's, and they're Kathy sources.
Right.
So she's a source for that, so I go to her.
Yeah.
If somebody else wants to find other sources, they have to do what Kathy does, search them out.
Right.
Kathy's been very diligent in helping us do that, finding the best.
Well, I always go for the highest quality.
This is a woman who 5 years ago was catatonic and couldn't talk.
Wow.
Now you can't shut her up. Serious catatonic.
That was really not bad junk, but I eat a lot of junk. I care that's my diet. I have a lot of pasta.
Okay, do you have a question?
Yeah.
Moving on.
Is it toxic for 100% rubber flip-flops?
What?
Rubber flip-flops? Not necessarily. Are they truly rubber? Come from rubber tree.
Some of
Are they truly rubber, or are you talking about nylon and plastic?
They told me it was 100% rubber.
Is there a little clause?
Then it's fine.
What?
But plastic, if they're nylon or plastic, they're toxic?
Toxic. They've got BPA's in them.
Oh.
BPA's are polymers. They're used to harden plastic. Tests came out 9 months ago and showed that 82% of the animals subjected to polymer gas that leached from plastic, nylon clothes, anything, 82% of them got brain tumors. Guess what? They're allowed to use the BPA for another 5 years because of finances. Industry will go under and lose tremendous amounts of money if they can't put out this product. So they have 5 years to find an alternative. While babies get brain tumors and all of us get brain tumors and other cancers because of these plastics. You're going to wear clothes, wear no nylon, no rayon, nothing but silk, wool, and cotton. Period. Or linen. All those four. That is it. Everything else is cancer-inducing. Can you imagine? The fibers are just like cotton. They will flake. They dust. You look at the lint in your dryer. It's the same with natural as with any synthetic fiber. That gets into your lungs. That's plastic in your lungs. What do you have to do to break down plastic? It has to turn into a polymer again. Everybody's breathing these, and we have only had 20 years of it. And each year, there's less and less natural cloth available. So you can imagine in the next 20 years, the amount of brain tumors that children are going to have. Because that's all they'll have is synthetic clothing. Plastic. Constantly breathing plastic.
Not only cotton?
Cotton, wool, silk, linen.
What about the
And
shoes?
hemp.
What
I
about
consider hemp a linen.
what's the shoes then? Leather? No, rubber. No,
Leather and rubber.
only leather and rubber.
Or you could have
Tennis shoes.
spine, or something like that.
How about the tennis shoes? You're not hitting your foot, you're going to sock them, right? The tennis shoes.
Oh, the
Well, if
Reeboks.
they're plastic, they're still going to gas.
Oh, so you should.
Whether you've got socks on or not, you're going to have the gas penetrate your foot.
How do I know if the rubber is from a good source? I have to inquire from the company.
Yeah, you'd have to give it
It's got to be directly from the rubber tree. Or that plant to that tree.
There's rubber only comes from that tree.
But I'm talking about those prints and those Reeboks.
The Reeboks nowhere.
Yeah.
You like to see my shoes?
Ask about
Wherever they are. They're leather tennis shoes. These are not plastic, these are leather. All leather.
Where do you get leather? They don't sell leather.
Well, I got these in Costa Rica for about $25, in New York City they're $110.
What do I know leather tennis shoes here?
Well, Anchor Blue. Yeah, they're in New York.
So the soles are pure rubber?
No, yes, the sole is pure rubber, and this is all leather.
But aren't they hot?
I use some massage.
You can find leather
I have a
tennis
problem
shoes
with
here?
it. And I always get shoes that are at least a half a size bigger than my foot. So there's lots of air and cooling.
You don't know if the Reeboks is leather?
I have no idea. Whenever I go into the store, I look what's there, what they're producing right now, and I find it's leather. And so they go leather and rubber. But I would say the shoes are the least of your problem. It would be, the cloth, the lint, and you're breathing it. That's the major problem. You're breathing that plastic. I mean, the sheets, your bed. I have to take my own sheets with me now because every hotel is buying synthetic sheets. So I have to take my own sheets with me when I travel. Because you're breathing plastic. Guess what's going to happen to plastic when it starts melting in your lungs? Because your lungs have to melt it. Your body has to dissolve it. That means you've got all these polymers and all these, what do they call those? Glues?
Like a rubber cement?
Yeah, well, cements, but they're called, forgot what they're called, certain kinds of epoxies.
Yeah.
Epoxy. You're going to have all that as part made up in part of your lungs. It's going to get into your bronchioles. It's going to get into your brain. It's going to go throughout your body. Stay away from plastic clothes, plastic sheets, plastic towels. You're just asking, for disease.
What about a vaccine?
Why do you think so many children are so diseased now? We're talking 5 out of 80 children now have a disease, serious disease at birth. At birth.
They're putting that fire retardant stuff
In the beds too.
In the pajamas
Yes,
for babies.
in the body, yes, for babies.
And in the futon mattresses.
The borax too. And this is, the chemical industries are behind it. They're going to the fire department and saying, use this as a fire retardant. This will save lives. Let's put it in clothing. Let's put it in this and that for babies. They know what it's going to do because they've done the laboratory test. They know it's going to create disease, but they get to sell it. They make fortunes.
I read they already...
They have no scruples.
I read they already found that fire retardant stuff in breast tissue and thyroid.
Yes. Yeah, that came out about 3 months ago.
Yeah.
Fire retardant is increasing breast cancer by something 12%.
What about magnetic mattresses? Where you have the magnets?
You're asking an awful lot of questions.
Oh,
I have to
sorry.
go around them.
Okay.
You asked a question and I... Yes.
I don't know if you're done.
Okay.
Okay, I have some questions, but I don't want to, we'll just see where it goes. I have some questions about high meat. And I guess my first question is, I followed the instructions in one of your books, and I'm about ready to start eating. And I had heard that I'm putting it in the refrigerator, and I pull it out and put it back in and so forth. Okay, but I heard that you don't need to put it in the refrigerator.
It'll grow faster if you don't want it in the refrigerator.
Okay. So my first question is, what are the limits? You talk about like eating a marble size. I'm not looking for a specific condition. Let's just say I feel like Sorcerer's Apprentice and I want to get in the laboratory and mess around.
Right.
See what I can do. I like to play with things, right?
You and Juliana here.
Yeah, totally. So I'm up for, first of all, I want to experience the unusual experience of it. That's one thing. But I mean, is there an upper limit? Like if in other words, is it a medicine or a food?
It's a medicine.
It's more a medicine, so I should treat it like a medicine.
Yes.
So,
because if you get an awful lot of bacteria in your body that isn't just going to help you digest, it's going to start eating toxic tissue throughout your body. You have to get rid of that waste product. And your body can only handle so much waste product in a day.
Give me a boundary.
So
what's an
it depends upon the individual.
So I'll just proceed.
I've eaten as much as a half a cup a day repeatedly for 28 days without ill reaction. I've eaten as much as 2 cups at a time, like when I did the show for Ripley's and for the German. A German company in Germany, because they went worldwide. People saw me eat bad food, so-called bad food, all over the world.
Right.
And this German company flew over here to film me doing it again.
Cool.
That poor cameraman was puking all over. The cameraman had to get close, to see the bugs and everything on the and he would smell it and just puking. Both of them puking.
You should have gone over to him and explained the benefits of licking up his own body.
And finally what I did was I got some cotton balls with some clove oil on it and stuck them up his nose.
Oh, that's what I was going to ask. How did you break into it initially, like when you started doing it?
I used musk oil and the cotton balls. I was with the Eskimos in Alaska.
Oh.
And they introduced me to it. But I couldn't get within 5 feet of it without choking. And the children are jumping up and down like this is some phenomenal candy. So they are getting a headache. So they put musk oil on some cotton balls and I stuck it up my nose, and that was my introduction into it.
That's where you learned about high meat from the Eskimos? That's a cool story. Okay, another aspect about the high meat, wait, what was it? I just went blind. Well, here's another aspect, the high eggs. How do you make the high eggs?
Well, if you want to make them fast, you take the egg and you tap it until you know it cracked, just hairline cracked so you can't see it. And then you just let it sit in the sunshine or in a carton with the sunshine beating on the carton. And it usually takes about 6 weeks and you have some pretty rotten, sticky egg.
But you told me once the sun was so hot, I cooked the egg. So
But you didn't have it inside a closed container. You had it exposed right to the sun. The sun hit the egg directly. So leave it inside the carton and let it, the sun hit the carton, heat it up that way.
Hairline crack, about 6 weeks sun.
Yeah.
Just leave it out no matter what the weather. Just stick it out on the
Well, if it's cold, you don't leave it out.
Okay.
It's got to be in a semi-warm place. It can't get too cold because then it'll retard the bacterial growth.
And
that's why you don't refrigerate eggs.
Okay, and then are there...
And the high eggs taste just like hard-boiled eggs with a whole bottle of salt poured on.
Okay.
There's no offensive taste to it at all. It's simply just too salty tasting.
What do they look like?
Because they smell
black, green?
It depends upon the egg.
Yeah, I've had eggs explode.
Yeah. I mean, when I was in Cambodia, they're selling them on the street, these black eggs that they pull up out of the ground because they let them rot.
Oh yeah, China too.
Yeah,
oh, they're
sensory eggs.
Yeah.
And they're 25-year-olds, it's $1,000 an egg.
Wow.
Full of black or white mold, this bacteria. And the only people who can afford it, these rich octogenarians.
Yeah, really.
And they'll eat an egg and they'll be able to, have sex every day and ejaculate 2 or 3 times a day for a month.
Really?
Oh,
wow.
Is that true? Okay, so what is the benefit of the high eggs versus high meat?
I heard how many I eat.
So you were telling this girl that you met out there, here's a cotton swab with some musk, stick it up your nose. What are you, some sex freak? Just trust me, okay?
She's not there.
No, what's the advantage of the high egg versus high meat? What's the difference? Is there?
There's a lot more mature protein in the meat than in the egg.
So the egg or the meat's actually preferable?
Well, it depends upon what you're looking at. If you've got tissue that was damaged in your body from drug contamination, eggs are better.
Okay. And now I guess last question. Now, so you were talking about getting E. coli into the high meat situation by taking fecal matter, and you mentioned buffalo fecal matter, and sort of just smearing it on a little bit. And okay, so suppose I want to do that. So I take my own fecal matter, right? Okay. Are there any considerations?
You don't want to use your own.
No.
You don't.
No.
You don't.
You have to use an organic animal. So it's completely pure.
Yeah.
Really?
You want to order a cow?
You don't want to take your own fecal matter.
Why would you not? Why would you not?
Because you've got high contaminants.
It's with poison.
in your
With
system.
poison.
If you had been raised a raw fooder all of your
Wouldn't
life
be an
like
issue.
Masai, it wouldn't be an issue.
Oh, it's a good thing I came here and asked you that. Okay, so where do you get organic fecal matter? Kathy, you never told me, Kathy.
All right, so I announced it.
Cassie supplies us the shit.
Right. Shit sample, okay.
We are going to be full of that.
Pardon?
We are going to be full of that.
Yeah, exactly. I'll let it go to the next person.
Okay. Jim.
So let me know.
Well, I have a bunch of questions, but one thing is, no matter how I prepare chicken in all your recipes, my wife won't eat it, and I think she needs it. I'll eat it. I like it. What's going on? Does she maybe?
Why won't she eat it?
She doesn't like it. Even if I do the tomato and chicken soup thing, and even extra honey in it makes it like candy, she still won't eat it. She just, I don't know.
Did you blend it? Did you take it and put it in it like 10% chicken with beef and put it together in a food processor and then make a dish with it?
No.
She'll never know it's in there.
So just put it in a beef dish.
Just trigger.
Yeah. Just only 10%. She won't be able to taste it. Any more than that, she'll taste it.
Okay, thanks.
But that's kind of not without the person's consent that they're doing that. I mean, remember the story about your son?
He's making the food for her,
Yeah,
and she
that's right.
wants it. She needs it. I've seen her as a patient. She needs it. I told her she needs it.
Oh, so it's just a matter of when she confronts it, she rejects it.
Yeah,
So, but she
I
wants
have
it.
some clients are that way, and I tell them to, blend it with red meat, and they'll never know.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Okay.
D, is that?
Judy.
Judy.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't hear the Jew on it. Judy. Okay.
No, my question is again, how strict we need to be in that diet? For
It
example, do we
depends
need
upon
to
the
eat
person.
rotten egg?
It depends upon the person. Depends upon the person.
In this case,
I've seen people do the diet 50%, take away the problem, and they'll continue 50% for their whole lives. My parents are that way. They were both dying in their 60s. And I got them to eat half raw. They'll eat the raw olive oil. They'll eat the raw butter. They won't eat raw meat, but my father ate it only when he was in pain with his knee transplant. And, he was suffering for weeks. And I told him the story, and I've been trying to get him to eat raw meat for 20-some years, and he ate the raw meat.
no, raw
He ate
meat
the raw meat.
raw meat
Good.
is okay. I'm talking about the rotten egg.
Oh, you mean the high bacterial foods? It depends on what you want. That is a medicinal remedial thing. If you're in depression, eat it every day, a little bit every day. If you're not in depression, you want hormones to build and develop in your body, use it a couple of times a week. One high egg a month might do you. If I have one high egg every 6 months, it does me. Otherwise, I'm a sexual maniac. I have to watch it.
So that's the best thing for sexual vigor, then, high eggs?
I mean, for some people, their bodies are going to use it differently.
No, you have to make it
But as you get healthier and you use more of the high eggs, then you have an excess that will help build certain hormones.
Is that women and men?
Yes,
Yes.
women and men are affected the same way.
I have one question. I called my doctor, Priscilla, 3 weeks ago about this problem. He told me, in this bone, this kind of meat, he said, the problem you have is because you don't have nerve.
No cartilage.
Nothing right there. What can happen is going to do you think that
You rebuild it eating eggs and meat together. Especially if you're having, let's say, 20% chicken and 80% red meat, and you make a steak tartare with raw egg in it, it'll build quickly. Cartilage will build quickly.
I think you're going to start tonight. I don't know.
You'll probably do fine with it. You have the skin coloring of people
Sometimes
who like
I live
it.
with this problem. More than working for construction.
I mean, you'll see, you have one meal like that, and the pain will disappear by 50% within about an hour. Makes a big difference instantly.
That's meat, white meat, and eggs,
Yes, steak tartare,
chicken, any kind of meat.
chicken, beef, and egg.
3 colors.
You could even put fish in it if you want. It'll add more minerals, and you probably build the bone quicker, cartilage quicker. Use all three.
Because he told me that bone is died completely because for the chemo.
Well, I had bone cancer.
Yeah.
So I lost about 40% of my bone mass. And it's all back. All back.
Wow. When did you have that?
When I was 20 years old, 21.
How old are you now, let me ask you?
I'll be 57 next Saturday.
Really? Oh my God, so good.
Oh, man.
The
Getting younger every day. When I was 21, every time, by the time I was 35, 37.
Now, no plastic surgery.
Pardon?
No plastic surgery.
No. Look at all this.
Make
Like plastic surgery.
Raw meat surgery.
Pardon?
Raw meat surgery.
There you go, raw meat surgery.
Not a surgery.
I was told that if I put meat, raw meat over this by some native Indians, it would take some of the wrinkles away. But I want to see if they'll go away naturally without having to do more naturally, just from the inside out.
I'll try that for you.
So,
For how long? For how many years?
I just leave it on all night. That's what they say.
What's
Just go to
the
sleep
meat?
with it on, yeah.
What, the meat you put on your face?
Where the wrinkles are. Yeah. 10 slices of meat, leave it on all night.
Is that beef or guinea meat?
Beef. Beef is the only thing I've been told that will work on wounds and bruises. Red meat's the only thing that's working.
I'm going to sell it to women.
How does the cast keep the self-cast from happening? Outside cast in the hospital?
Well, if you have movement there, the body will build it on its own. If you've got a cast on, there's no movement.
Wow.
So it doesn't develop.
So the best thing is don't have a cast when you break a bone.
Yeah, but you have to be careful while until this is built, that you don't dislocate that bone.
Nurse it. Nurse it, right?
Yeah, well, I just took care, you know. The only place I took a big chance was that girlfriend I met wanted to go to the market. So I said, I'm well enough to go to the market. Bangkok, you've got thousands of people elbow to elbow. So she had to go as a guard for the shoulder.
You had to go to the market?
Left and right, people bump everything.
You should never go to a market on a situation when you're holding it.
Right.
Especially there.
But she was my shield, so she walked right there.
What like a splint that they used to use, like for broken arms? Is that okay, would you think? Or?
Well, it'll keep the movement in your body from developing its own. But still, you'll have less pain. So, either use a splint or not, or a cast or not. It doesn't matter. It's up to you.
Okay.
As long as the cast is plaster of Paris, you're not going to have a problem. But if they're starting to make, they're starting to put polymers in there, so they're putting polyurethane plastics in the new casts. That you don't want, because that would gas in your arm. So you're not going to heal properly. You have a question?
Yes. In your recipe book, you talk about combining fruit with chicken and fish.
Yeah.
And you say there's alkaline fruit, and you say there's acidic fruit.
Right.
What are some other alkaline, what are other acidic? Because I've tried to combine things, but then I wasn't sure if that was acidic or alkaline.
Peaches, melons, let's see,
these are alkaline.
Pears, they're all alkaline.
Yeah.
Subacid and acid are your citrus fruits. Your subacid are apples.
Now, apples, can you combine with chicken or not?
Yes.
So
but you always have to have fat with them. And if you get them green instead of ripe, then you're getting less sugar and more enzymes. So that's much better. It's like the Thais and the Cambodians and the Laos and the Burmese. Burmese, and the Malaysians, they all eat very tart green mangoes.
Yeah.
And it's funny because it keeps them from having the lymphatic congestion that usually goes along with their kind of a high carbohydrate diet.
I like my bananas really green almost.
Yeah.
That's a good...
That's the way they have them, yeah. So bananas are a subacid like apples.
Mangoes, are
They're not
alkaline
sweet.
or acid?
They're an alkaline. Unless they're tart, then they're a subacid.
Bananas is
strawberries?
sweet fruit?
So bananas is a subacid.
No, when it's green, they're not sweet at all.
But when they're ripe, they're really sweet.
Yeah, sweet.
So they're all...
High alkaline.
So essentially, fruit that's not really sweet, but it is more...
It's much better for you.
Yeah. And if you do combine like a mango with chicken, is it bad, or is it just that it does the same like with beef? Does it just convert it to fuel, or what's the reason?
Well, it's just in my experiments. I can't tell you why or how.
Yeah.
I just found that even if you mix a fruit that is semi-ripe, not overly ripe, if it's overly ripe, it's going to make fuel of your protein.
Okay.
But if it's semi-ripe or unripe, and you mix it with white meats, it will still help generate tissue and heal quicker. But with red meats, it doesn't. The only thing you can get away with the red meats are the pineapple and the papaya.
So the red meat should be eaten by itself?
No, you can have it with tomatoes and other things. I've got it in the recipe book, of what you can combine with red and white meat. And there are 82 sauces in there to make it enjoyable. And the 82 sauces can be made 3 to 5 different ways each. So there's about 400 sauces there. So find many sauces that are easy to get. I mean, some of these people couldn't eat a third of a pound of meat a day, and they couldn't eat more. Put a sauce in, and you're eating 3 pounds a day.
Do you eat your berries green?
Pardon?
Do you eat the berries green? Like blackberries, blueberries?
It's always better, yeah.
You don't find them green in the store.
No, well, you can find more and more green because they're starting to pick them younger and younger.
Did you say pineapple and papaya are alkaline?
No.
What are
I
they?
said they will mix with red meat and still allow the meat to become a healer, a cell regenerator. So it doesn't matter whether it's an alkaline or acid. Those are the two meats, probably because of the bromelain and the papain. In the papain and the papaya, which is a protein, it helps break down this simple protein, and the bromelain and the pineapple, which helps break down protein. Those are probably the only reasons that you could use those particular fruits with red meat.
What are berries? Are they alkaline or acid?
It depends upon the berry. Strawberries are acid. Most of the other berries are alkaline.
What's the strawberries you could have with like chicken?
Yeah, and fish. Jeff,
Yeah, I want to know more specifically about putting the meat in lemon juice, like chicken or fish or whatever. I did some fish recently, and I had it in there for about 5 days, and when I ate it on the 5th day, I got horrible stomachache. And what's the difference between that kind of length of time and like the high meat? And I thought it would be okay after 5 days.
usually it may have been surely coincidental.
Oh, really? But it has nothing to do with the lemon juice?
If you have too much lemon juice, it's going to eat into your stomach mucus, and if it starts eating into stomach mucus, and your mucus is very thin or short fibered, then it's going to cause a burn to the stomach. The stomach's going to be going to a cramp.
Okay, so that might have been what happened.
Was there organic lemons?
I don't know, probably.
Because I found that I got a stomach ache when I didn't use organic lemons.
I usually get those, so it's probably but
So, if your mucus is thin, then you want to eat more eggs.
more eggs?
Yeah, eggs with meat.
Because I'm eating like 6 a day, or eating
Well, then,
more.
are you eating any with meat?
No.
Then do that, and that will create a longer fiber.
Like at the same meal, not just
At the same meal,
Okay.
or right after the meat,
Okay.
When you build mucus has fibers in it. And it's like a mesh. It's like layers and layers of cloth. You've got these fibers, protein fibers. When a woman is on her period or not fertile, you see the mucus fibers. You can take a mucus and it will pop right there. It will only go maybe a 1/16 to an 1/8 of an inch, and then the fiber will break. The mucus won't stay long. But when she's fertile, those mucus fibers get very long, and you can stretch them about that long before they will break. That's the difference. And the longer the fibers, the more protection you have in the body. But usually women and men only develop, or men never, but women develop that kind of mucus is only when they're on their in their fertile period. Otherwise, the body normally creates it all the time that way if an animal's raw and healthy.
But
And that's not during that time.
body too.
Pardon?
But in other places in your body too.
Everywhere, it will make it right. But because the reproduction is so delicate, that gets the concentration of the priority.
Okay. One other question. So who's going to help us out with all this stuff when we move to Thailand?
Pardon?
Who's going to help us with all of this when you move to Thailand?
Speakerphone. We'll get a speakerphone.
That's what I mean. Like,
When I move to Thailand, it'll be at least 3 years. And I'll be there only 3 months at a time at the most, because all of other clinics will be opening up. I'm opening another one in probably Oaxaca, Mexico.
Oaxaca?
Oaxaca. So, there are going to be 12 of them, so I'll be spending, weeks at different ones. But I will have all the information in books. And then I'll have a website eventually that's going to have every book on it. So you can run a search on it. So you'll pay to get on the website. Pay monthly to get on the website. And you can put in whatever your problem is, and you can put a search on it, and it'll come up with every place that I mention it. So you'll be able to get the information just like that.
Right.
But that's going to be about 2 years in development.
That's great. But if you're going to see, but I didn't even see the patients here.
They won't need me when I have all the information. That's what I'm working at. Everybody will be able to take care of themselves when I give everybody enough information. And when they can address it, they'll be able to help them out. Okay, you too.
I meant to see the urodology, how people are doing.
Well, that's if they want to know themselves, but I'm training other people. We'll be training other people to do that. So I won't have to be relied upon for everything.
Yeah. I'm going to be trained. Yeah.
Well, I'm charging $8,000 tuition a year plus 20 hours a week of work that involves one of my books. So you learn as you're working, but it's a 3-year course. We'll start probably
Are you
January.
training like regular doctors, or are you training these like people?
I'm training only people who've had exposure to, some kind of health principle.
Oh, so they're not doctors, but they're some kind of health professional.
They've been some kind of nutritionist or therapist or somebody that knows the body, so they don't have to learn the body. All they have to know is the basics of the body.
So if you don't have a computer, you're not computer literate, then you're lost, right?
Well, you won't be able to address it as easily. You'll just have to go to the books and do it slowly. And you still have the access to the information, but you won't be able to address it in an instant. It could take you weeks to figure things out, or you could do it in a day if you have a computer.
So Panthea's search is real simple.
I don't have a computer.
Well, he travels around his telephones. It's not like Aajonus is going to another galaxy.
I know, but it makes how much is a long distance call?
She needs some reassurance. Put your arm around. I'm not going to go, Kathy. You'll be fine.
Well, you'll probably have the information, right, Juliana?
And I encourage everybody to be fat. I always just say that. Fat is protection. Tell this story again. Last year I went to...
Juliana's doing great, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You're not fat.
Well, this is the accident. Took it off. I lost like 20 pounds from the accident. I couldn't eat, because I didn't have all the food. I had to rely upon other people getting me the food. And I was in so much pain I couldn't even lift to eat much.
So can you give us an estimate how we need to be? Like I gained already 22 pounds. Do I have to gain more?
Well, I would say no more than 5 more pounds.
Oh, okay.
Right now, to me, you're perfect.
Oh, good. Thanks.
You're perfect.
You're kidding.
Excuse me. Right now, I am overweight 30 pounds.
You're perfect.
No.
Yeah, I'm serious. I'm telling you a story so you all understand. I was in Asheville, North Carolina, to see patients last year. It was September. And Asheville is full of these hippies from my era, 40s and 50 years old, 60-year-old hippies. And they've all been long-term vegetarians, thought they were doing the right thing. Yet they are the sickest people I've seen. Then this guy who looked like he'd been a motorcycle biker, a gang member, walks in and he's got adipose tissue all over his face, like he's been a drug abuser for at least 25 years, an alcoholic for 30 years. He was only about maybe 25 pounds overweight, and his coloring was pretty good, but his skin was a mess. I mean, as far as adipose tissue and the damage that was done in the skin, lots of scarring. Well, when I looked at his irises, his insides were almost immaculate. And here we're looking at all these people who were 30-year-old vegetarians who thought they were doing the right thing. And here's this drug abuser who admitted that he'd been an alcoholic for 30 years and a drug abuser for 27 years. And we're talking cocaine, heroin, everything. And I said, it doesn't make sense to me. How can this be? You're only about 25, 30 pounds overweight. He said, well, before I went on your diet 5 months ago, I was 300 pounds. Fat absorbs poison. We know that scientifically because when we go into a body, we find the poisons, the toxins, wherever fat is, and it's mostly in glands and fat tissue. So if you're fat, you're protected.
You lost 300 pounds on your diet?
No, he was 300 pounds. He lost 120 pounds, 130 pounds. Yeah. Wow. So don't lose any more.
But then if you're eating, everything's diet, but you're not gaining weight, then
You're not eating that.
I've cut weight down here now. Because I gained a lot of weight at the beginning.
That's what you want. If you get through that, then you'll probably break through your sleep cycle earlier because you get the poisons out.
So but then when I lose that weight, what, am I losing the weight with the poisons? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
That's what happens. See, when you put the weight on, I tell people in the recipe book, I tell them every 6 months, gain and lose the weight. I only say that because men and women have this bizarre notion that when they gain the weight, it's going to be very hard to lose it. And it is for a lot of people who are very toxic for the first 2.5 years. I would rather people be on a 2 to 2.5 year cycle. Get fat, hold it for 2.5 years, and then lose it. But because people are so paranoid, it's easier to convince them if they can see that they're going to lose it in 6 months and then gain it back again, lose it, then they feel comfortable. Then after a few years of doing that, they don't care if the fat stays on for a year or 2 years. They're not worried about being fat forever. There are a few people that it's impossible for them to lose the weight, even no matter how hard they try, but it's only like 0.5% of all the people I know on the diet. And some people just don't want to. I was talking with a woman a couple of days ago, and she says, I can't stand that I'm fat, but I'm so happy. She says, whenever I go on the weight loss program, I get unhappy. I look good, but I'm unhappy.
Oh, wow.
So, she says, I'm staying fat. And fat, for her, is your size. To me, that's not fat. But to her, that's very fat, because she used to be a skinny girl.
Yeah.
So she'd rather be fat and happy. Yeah, really. And I say, great. I can't tell names unless they're present and they agree to it. See, you didn't agree to anything I said, so I didn't mention her name.
Quick question, since I passed the first time. If you have a lot of mucus in your stool, is that good news or bad news?
What's good news?
Oh, okay.
Anything that happens when you're on diet is good news.
Okay. And the only way we can buy fertile eggs, they are refrigerated when we get them. Is that bad? If we take them out and leave them out, is that okay?
Yeah, they'll start building up their bacteria again, and they'll be able to, more protein will act. Yes, never refrigerate eggs. You got to reread the books.
No, but we were already. Yeah, we were worried.
Yeah. Well, when you go to, call your store, find out when to get the eggs in. The eggs are never refrigerated until they're put on the truck for delivery.
Okay, so I asked the cooperative, and they said that they're transported in refrigeration.
They don't get put in refrigeration until they go onto the truck. The truck takes 5 hours at the most to get to the last stop. So it's only a few hours. Find out what day and what time the eggs come in. About what time come. You go in that day, get them. They haven't been refrigerated but a few hours. Because it takes them about 3 hours to get to the temperature where the law says that the eggs have to be delivered at a certain temperature, just like 48 degrees. Usually the trucks will take it lower because they want them to chill faster. But because the first delivery may be only 3 hours away from the house, where they got the egg. Yes.
So we shouldn't put the eggs in the refrigerator?
Eggs should never, ever go into refrigeration. Okay, good question. Cellulite? Is that a new form of radio? Is that a new kind of cell phone?
Cell phone flashlight.
Cellulite. Cellulite is always hardened fat that is full of toxic matter. And it just keeps getting layers and layers of it thicker. And it turns into these balls, hardened balls. Sometimes they'll never even show until you go on this diet and the body starts putting solvents in there to dissolve it. And then all of a sudden you've got cellulite.
Yeah.
It's been there, you just haven't seen it. And when the body starts dissolving it, it's getting rid of it. And it takes swelling to do that because the solvents come around, surround it, and then dissolve it. Hot baths help remove it. If you take an hour and a half bath, because a lot of times vegetable oils are involved in that fat. And vegetable oils, once they've been in the body a while, will never turn fluid again at body temperature. So the body has to get 102 to 105 degrees to get it to melt. So if you take long baths and take some kind of a formula like, if anybody wants to write this down, 1/8 to 1/4, well, upon the size of the person, to a 1/3 of an inch thick circular slice of green pineapple. And mix it with 2 to 3 ounces of coconut cream and 3 tablespoons of butter and 1 to 3 tablespoons of cow's cream and a little bit of honey if you like. And you drink that before or right when you get in the bath. Then when you get out of the bath, you take a 45-minute to an hour walk. What the water will do, the hot water will do, so you have to keep warming it about every 20 minutes to 30 minutes, depending what type of tub you have. Keep the temperature between 102 and 105 degrees, so that it will soften all that cellulite, so it will get soft. Then that formula will start working into the lymph system and keeping it from going too hard again once your body cools. But when you do the walk and the exercise, you should also be bundled to be very hot. So like wear wool underwear, silk underwear, plus your clothes over that, and you go right out and do your walk. You'll perspire a lot of those poisons out. Sweat it out, yes. So you'll lose, if you did that, let's say 2 days a week, you would probably speed up the cellulite loss to probably 4 years instead of 10 years.
What about drinking
But
water?
on this diet, once you get rid of cellulite, you never get it. Yeah.
But what about drinking water during all this time you're sweating?
Well, it's better to drink tomatoes and things that are going to help us make solvents to help dissolve it and take vitamin A into your system. So it's better to take a bunch of, like a quart of tomatoes and blend it with 2 ounces of cream. And that's a better way to get your fluids to handle that. Otherwise, if you had to drink water, if you did that, took the bath and everything, it would probably take you about 2.5 quarts of water to regulate your fluid level. If you took tomatoes, 1 quart would be more than enough to do it. Plus, it would leach too much in your body. You need a certain amount of water, because water is your most important solvent. It's so funny, medical profession, even the pharmaceutical industry doesn't identify, water as a solvent. But if you go into archaeological and oceanographers, they learn that water is an important solvent because you have to learn the properties of water and what it does to things in nature. Archaeologists need to know that, and oceanographers need to know that. So they are taught that water will just disintegrate anything that it combines with. And that's its property. So when you put water into the body, it'll tear your body apart if you're drinking too much water. It'll leach minerals, vitamins, proteins from your system in your blood. So water's not something to have too much of.
What
It should
about
be very minimal.
showers and all that? Bathing? It doesn't affect you that way then?
Well, I take a bath every 5 to 6 days.
And no showers?
Yeah, I have a well, so I'm up there in Malibu Mountains. I got my own well, so I don't have to worry about.
I've got a well too, so that's okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Oh, good, okay.
But if you're, if you have city water, like the LA city water has 192 chemicals in it. The water's been used shit and peed in 3 times before you get it. Because it comes all the way from the Colorado American Canal, and it comes down here, and it is used by Oxnard first, and then it goes to the valley, and then it goes to the community up here, and then it goes to the lower, it's all recycled, it's all reconstituted. So the water...
filter on the shower, does that help?
It barely gets it out. So if you take baths, it's better, or you can put a couple of cups of milk in it with a couple of tablespoons of vinegar and a couple of tablespoons of sea salt. That neutralizes the poison. Lots of
That's good. What about soaps and shampoos and...
Those are all poison. And they all get into the body.
As you let water out to get hotter water in the tub, do you need to add more milk and...
No. For some reason, no. I did it for 3 years of testing, and for some reason, that's all it took. If you don't want to use milk and you have only coconut cream, then you can use 2 ounces of coconut cream in the water. That's even better for the skin. Especially if you had candida or any kind of a fungus, you put 2 ounces of coconut cream in your bath.
In place of
and
milk?
it just coats everything, and you get rid of athlete's foot, candida, almost, every time you take a bath. 2 ounces. 4 tablespoons of coconut cream.
What do you use apart from water? What do you use apart from water when you make? Like if you don't use soaps, what do you use?
It depends. If I use coconut cream in the water, I just use the washcloth. Because coconut cream, 50 years ago, 80% of all the soaps in the world were made from coconut. Saturated fat that just dissolves dirt and grime and gets rid of it instantly.
You use coconut cream?
So if I use coconut cream in the bath, then I just use the washcloth. I don't use any
You use
soap.
that in place of milk, and you don't need milk. You use coconut cream.
Correct. But if I want to make a shampoo and I'm not using the coconut cream in the water, I use 2 ounces of the vegetable juice, green vegetable juice, 2 ounces of milk if my hair is very dry. It will condition the hair. And a tablespoon of honey, a tablespoon of coconut cream, or no milk and just a tablespoon of coconut cream to condition the hair, and 1 egg.
Yes,
And that's right, put that on my hair dry. Yeah. Or you could just use an egg. If you use an egg by itself and just want to clean your hair with an egg, then wet your hair first before you put the egg in it. Otherwise, your hair's going to smell like egg.
When you use the coconut cream, don't you end up feeling a little greasy? I know when I get it on my skin, it's really greasy.
Yeah, but once you get out of the bath and you take your towel over it, it doesn't leave an oily film on it. It's just perfect.
Oh, yeah?
It's phenomenal.
I'll try it. Sounds good.
I just for the benefit of the coconut cream instead of milk, the vinegar and salt.
I'm not going to repeat it anymore.
Well,
it's easy. Okay.
You mentioned the vinegar and salt. Does that stay with the coconut cream, or is the coconut cream in place of the whole schmear?
Coconut cream is only in place of the milk.
So you use the salt and the...
So use the salt and vinegar.
So in a shampoo, then you have how long do you leave the egg on first?
You mean, no, if you're using the egg as your shampoo, you wet your hair first before you put the egg in.
Then you put on the egg and you leave it on
Then you
5
put your
minutes?
hand in the carton.
It doesn't matter.
Then you take it out in the sunshine.
You leave it on 2 minutes.
But you have the vegetable juice and the coconut cream and the shampoo. You leave it on for 5 minutes.
Yeah, I leave it on for about 5 minutes, but then I don't wet the hair first when I use that.
When you have the vegetable juice and you have the
When I have the egg and the vegetable juice, the honey, and the milk, I put that, I don't wet my hair first.
The coconut cream, you said, in place of milk.
If I may use a tablespoon of coconut cream in place of milk. But if I'm using the vegetable juice, no matter what mixture, if I have vegetable juice in it, I do not wet my hair first. So if I'm using just egg, I wet the hair first, so my hair won't smell like egg.
Is a hot bath, isn't that no good for a vaginal candida?
I don't have a vagina, so.
Well, where did she go?
How are you going to find out the answer to that one?
No, I know the answer. It's not a problem.
Oh, okay. I thought the heat made the thing hotter, go worse.
Well, what it does is it allows them to procreate faster and eat more of it. But when you get out and the coconut cream is into your skin, it just stops the candida, smothers it or something. Takes the effects away. Or if you're not having coconut cream in your bath, then you put the primal facial body care cream from the recipe book. You put that on those areas, and the itching will go right away.
But if you use hair products like gels and stuff like that, it doesn't, if you don't put it on your scalp, it won't get absorbed by your body. Just the hair.
Oh, yes.
It
Because it keeps leaking down from the shaft on your scalp.
Oh, really?
Unless your hair is ultra dry.
It is but it's also curly. It's difficult.
Would an egg white work as a gel? No?
Yeah, egg white works as a gel.
What?
Use egg white as a gel.
And that's really? This one?
Well, coconut cream is better to use as a gel.
Oh, yeah.
Coconut cream is great.
On the hair, you mean?
So when the
If
bath...
you want it even stiffer, just put a tiny bit of honey, put a drop of honey per 2 tablespoons of coconut cream, and it'll even get firmer.
When the bath water is warm, the milk curdles. Do you find that it does?
that too.
You find it too? Yeah, it does. Maybe it's because your water is different than the water.
No, I used to use it all the time.
Hot
LA water.
Maybe you're supposed to wait a few
Maybe you're
minutes.
putting the milk into it when the water's too hot.
Oh, okay.
Wait till it cools down.
If I can't leave my hand in that water for 5 seconds, my milk does not go in that water.
Okay.
No ingredient goes in that water until my body can stand it. And then you just cook your ingredients.
But then when you need
But what I do, when I put in the bath, when I start the bath, I will put scalding hot water halfway. That heats up the entire tub. And then 10 minutes later, I'll go in and put cool water in till it brings it up to the level where I want. Then I'll put my ingredients in, let it sit for 5 to 7 minutes, and then I'll get in. Then the whole tub is already heated, so it won't cool quick. It may take a half an hour to chill it where I need to raise the temperature.
What about the cellulite bath? You said 104 degrees?
102 to 105 degrees.
That way too hot though for the ingredients, right?
No, the 104, 105 degrees the ingredients can take.
That's all you need to melt the cellulite? 104?
Honey is the only thing that's affected under 98.2 degrees.
104.
104. Well, if you keep the water between 102 and 105.
I was in the bathroom when you were talking about the cellulite bath. Can you just repeat the ingredients? I heard kelp. That's all I heard.
I didn't say kelp.
Oh, you did? Oh, okay. Well, what are the ingredients?
I just said.
What? Oh, those were the ones for cellulite? Oh, okay.
Yeah, it wasn't about.
I thought it was.
The ingredients to eat.
Oh.
There are ingredients to eat before you get into the bath.
What's that?
And that's 1/8 to 1/4, 1/3 of an inch thick circular slice of green pineapple, 2 to 3 ounces of coconut cream, 3 tablespoons of butter, 1 to 3 tablespoons of cow's cream, honey if you like, it's not necessary. But what happens is the coconut cream is an intense solvent, will dissolve matter. If you take a lid like from a canning jar, it'll spin you around. If you put the coconut cream on one of the canning jar lids, I have one that has the metal exposed, within an hour it turns black and starts ripping up the metals. And so coconut is a wonderful solvent to get rid of toxins and dissolve matter. So you have the coconut cream in there. Now you need something to arrest those poisons. So the butter and cream is for that. It will bind with those poisons.
You have it in place of the other fruit? You put that in the bath?
No, that's what you're eating.
Oh, okay, that's what you're eating. They said
Yeah.
cellulite something. You have that in
dissolved cellulite in your body. You have the pineapple, the coconut cream, the butter, cream mixture. So that it gets into your body, gets into your lymph system. When you're in the bath, it softens the fat in the lymph system. Then you start feeding, you've taken that formula inside the body, and the lymph system feeds every cell in the body that isn't in the bloodstream.
So you're supposed to eat that an hour before you take a bath?
No. If you're taking a bath for an hour and a half, you take it right before you get in the bath or right when you get in the bath. So that is in your body and in your lymph system within an hour and a half. So then you're out of the bath and then you do your exercise and it's permeating into the lymph system.
But if you're on the weight loss, you don't take the formula.
You don't do that kind of thing on weight loss. You don't do things for intense detoxification when you're on the weight loss.
But you have to have...
Weight loss is to get rid of fats that have already combined with poisons, bound with poisons in your body. You do not want to cause more deep tissue detoxification while you're losing the weight because there's not enough blood fat to take care of those poisons.
So no hot dogs.
No
Kathy,
well, no
I'm going to get a copy of the
long
tape. If you want to get a copy of the tape from me, that's probably the best thing if you're not recording it. I'm going to get a copy of the tape from him, and then I'll get you.
She has a copy.
Oh, you will? Then you? Yeah. It's all in. Might want to listen to it.
Well, sometimes she has to have things said in a different way.
I hear you.
Her brain doesn't work.
Okay.
I'm the same way. It used to be the same way.
Wait a minute, if you're you have to have one fruit or the other. You can't have a fruit at 1:30, 2 o'clock, and then have 1:30 and then have another fruit before you go to the bath.
Oh, yeah.
You do your bath in the afternoon. That's why I tell people to do the bath in the afternoon.
So that's your fruit meal?
Yeah, that's your fruit meal.
Okay.
Well, I mean, how many minutes before the bath you have to take the fruit?
You take it right before you get in the bath or as soon as you get in the bath and drink it while you're in the bath. Okay?
1 tablespoon of coconut cream?
No, it's on there. You've got it on there. You just write it down and listen back to it in the ear. Okay. I think we've covered the room. What time is it?
All right.
If I don't have it, I'll call you.
5:05.
I'll call you tomorrow.
Thank you.
We're long.
I want to talk to the mattresses.
I found that the magnetic mattresses are good for periods of time, 6 weeks, no more than usually 5 hours a day, and it's helpful. As long as it's not electrically charged, they're set steel magnets.
There was a question, Aajonus, I read once about the magnetic mattresses and that kind of thing, where it could magnetize the iron and hemoglobin, and would cause the hemoglobin to cluster.
Yeah, I heard
That's
that.
it.
That would be
Too long.
dangerous.
Yeah, it's only if you're on too long. That's what I say.
So
You have
that
to limit your exposure.
Okay.
Can I ask you that question?
Do you eat it alone? Without anything else?
On your tape, you'll hear that I told you to have butter. How much butter? How much cream?
I'm sorry, the high meat.
The high meat? High meat is always eaten alone or with water and 15 minutes before meeting.
You have to learn, honey.
Thought I made the bubble sugar.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you could definitely use it. It would probably help you.
Use it before it wouldn't work.
No, for that particular part of your body.
Oh, okay.
But other parts of your body can be very happy with it.
Yeah, I was going to get a rubber foam mattress. I wouldn't teach a piece of rubber foam.
Rubber foam will gas for 5 years.
The latex?
Latex will gas for 5 years.
I thought latex was natural.
Well, if it's true rubber latex, if they're using a polymer with it, then it's not, then it's plastic.
It's a lot of money to latex.
What's that, a tops?
That's rubber.
What's the word?
Latex is rubber, but a lot of times they're using polymers with, a plastic, what do they call that again? The glue. Epoxy. They're using the epoxy to bind the rubber together. And that's plastic. That's the thing that will gas the EPA.
Do you know where people can get rubber shoes?
Let me see if she understands first.
Yeah, no, I do.
Okay.
I just, what I had read about the methods we're planning on buying is that it's 100% natural, but I'll ask about.
Well, I had a rubber mattress made, 100% latex, all natural rubber. I was nothing but over hot gas constantly. So what I did was I had organic futon made to go on top of it. So I used that as my spring. $1,200 box spring.
Oh my God.
But it works very nicely.
Organic futon is made of what?
100% organic cotton. I have it made. I had mine made.
Because they have an option where you could do a layer of wool on top, like a pillow of wool.
Yeah.
So would that serve the same purpose as the futon? No.
Actually, mine is made of 20% wool and 20% cotton because it sponges more. It's all organic. But, if you go to a company now, and they want to charge almost $2,000 for that. But I went to the futon company on La Brea, and I said, okay, I want an all cotton, wool, that particular mixture, but I want it organic. So we're going to have to charge a lot of money for that. It ended up costing me only $600 for an 8-inch thick, queen-size mattress. And it cost me $2,000 somewhere else. But that was $400 more than their regular futons. So for them, that was a great bargain. But I had to go buy my own material, because all their materials are polyester, partially polyester. So I had to go buy a fabric and get the amount that I needed, the yardage that I needed, and then give them the material. But they built it all for me. In
So
San
they
Francisco,
had the organic filling, and you bought
they were able to
it.
buy it. Yep, organic filling, made it for me. So I had 2 of them made. Because I have bed outside and bed inside.
I'm just in the process of buying a mattress right now, and I was just going to go with 100% latex.
Yeah. But the latex one, let me tell you, you have trouble. You'd be perspiring. It molds.
Oh.
Your perspiration comes down, and all of a sudden you got black mold coming out. I mean, it is horrendous. So I made the futon flow on top, and it's perfect.
So what's the percentage of cotton and wool in the futon?
20% wool, 80% cotton. It keeps a better top. The spring's better. It feels really good.
Organic comforter, but you said you need an organic comforter until I can get another bed.
Yeah, you can do that.
And it's still
What's the best bed to get then? It doesn't have all these problems.
There's none. California has a law where you have to put borax or some other fire retardant in it. So I invented a doctor and wrote a letter that said he's allergic to borax. Do not put any fire retardant in it. So they made my futons without fire retardant.
So it's the only way to get it.
It's the only way to get it because it is a law.
Even organic.
Even organic doesn't make any difference. They still have to put a fire retardant in it unless you can find a chiropractor that says doctor on it. You got a doctor, these guys don't know. If they get a note from a doctor, they won't put it in there.
The rubber foam, forget about it. Pain in the ass.
If you're sleeping directly on it,
But why would you want it as a box spring?
because it makes it firm. It's firm, but yes, it has a gift. No, that's if you're sleeping directly on it.
Okay. But you can find cheap latex mattresses for if you don't care for a box spring, you can get it for $700.
Well, I don't like box springs because they have all that metal. So you got all those, and I'm very sensitive, and I'll wake up with radio sounds going through my head in my sleep, so I don't like that. And the siren goes off 50 miles away. For some reason, the metal will just drive it into my brain. So I have to I can't use any metal on
You
my
have to
bed.
just sleep on the floor.
Depends on what the floor is.
Yeah, right.
It's pretty hard if you're sleeping on this.
What about buckwheat pulses?
Get buckwheat hull pillows.
I've only used buckwheat old pillows, but they
how that would work.
sometimes that causes a little powdering after a while,
Yeah.
and it causes the allergies and sneezing. If you're using the pillow for only maybe a year before the fibers start opening up from use, they're fine. But for long-term use, it's not a good thing because it powders.
Aajonus, I have to go, but I left that cooler right next to your box
Okay.
on the step,
All right.
and then I'll get it from you this week. I'll call you
Okay.
about my appointment.
Terrific. All right.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Call me from the phone and ask me.
I'll call you, Kathy.
All right, guys, that's it.
Thanks.
All right.